astronauts, this is Brandi and welcome back to Astro-Tarot Research. If you're new here, like I said, my name is Brandi and I like to combine astrology and tarot to give real-world grounded predictions. So, this week's reading is obviously the October 2025 monthlies. It feels weird because I'm filming this very early and way ahead of time, but by the time that you guys get it, it will be right on time. So before we get started, I do want to remind you to like, to comment, and to subscribe. Don't forget, links to social media can be found below. And if you would like a private reading from me, all you have to do is go to that description bar and fill out the form and I will get back to you. Also, you can also join the lives. I go live Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Time is posted on the community tab by Tuesday night. During the lives, we also do the weekly look ahead. I might tell you some astrological insights and what the energies are coming up. So be sure to drop into the lives. Now let's get into these cards. We have 5 piles to choose from. As always, we have pile number 1, pile number 2, pile number 3, pile number 4, and pile number 5. So let's not waste any more time and just sit back, relax, and choose. Hey pile number 1, let's get started on your reading. We have the 10 of Wands for how you are moving and coming into this month. We have the Moon card for finances, the 6 of Cups when it comes to your career, the 8 of Cups when it comes to your love life, things you love, family, etc. We have the World card as an overall card, as well as we have Sagittarius as an overall vibe type of card. We also have our dice, which let me grab these. Okay, Pisces, second house, Saturn. So Saturn and Pisces in the second house. Woo, you are right on theme, okay? As we are filming this, Saturn is in Pisces, and I love those synchronicities. It's in Pisces in Western and Vedic. So talk about intensification. You're really feeling the heat of Saturn and Pisces, or the wateriness weight, we can call it that. But Saturn and Pisces is definitely it can be sort of like a mental heaviness, okay? And I don't want to start and begin with something negative or anything like that. But I do want to just make note of that so it can feel like that mental heaviness, especially since we're entering the month with the 10 of Wands. And I want to acknowledge if you are going through that period where the cards indicate you might be, where you are suffering a lot of burdens and responsibilities and feeling a bit overwhelmed, stressed out, needing a sense of break or just unburdening. Well, you may even feel a little bit of that as we move through this month. With the 10 of Wands energy, normally I see this card, especially in this position as to like where you currently are. Generally, some of the vibe is going to come up during the month. It doesn't necessarily mean that this entire month is going to feel heavy, but we need to acknowledge that there are going to be some moments like that because you are coming from this weighted place, and sometimes it takes a while to unload and get out of that. And if it's not like the external responsibilities, sometimes with this Saturn Pisces feel, it can give a lot of, as I said, mental heaviness, a lot of worries, depression, anxiety, sadness, all of the emotions that can be difficult to navigate. So I do want to acknowledge that. Also, when we talk about Saturn being in Pisces, if we think about Pisces being the place where you come to rest, and Saturn being there, the planet of restriction, it restricts rest, it restricts peace, it restricts having a moment to just relax. That's not to say that you won't travel or anything, because we do have the World card in Sagittarius. I generally get the Sagittarius card to represent months where you might be taking some sort of trip or visiting someone, or if you are in school, this particular month may feel as though education has taken priority. This can also represent like legal matters as well, something coming up and that may be on your brain this month. Just want to note that. Positive things about Saturn in Pisces is that you will be looking and restructuring and finding new ways to find that sense of peace, to find that sense of emotional regulation and steadiness so that you can continue to live your life and be a functional, happy, beautiful human being, because you definitely deserve happiness in this lifetime. Now, we do want to say with that Saturn and Pisces in the second house here, this can definitely represent that this month you're definitely thinking about how you would like to restructure your finances. And this definitely shows a lot of deep reflection here. The moon card is coming up for your finances. I don't know why, but this reading, I'm having to blend the cards. Normally I just talk about the dice first and move to the cards, but it seems that a lot of the themes are very prominent and connected. So I want to say that this can definitely represent feeling as though you are a little bit at a loss when it comes to the financial area, and you would like to bring more structure into that area. You want to make some changes. You want to make some transformations. Saturn doesn't always limit finances. What it does is provide structure, or, you know, if you have been living your life in a way that's irresponsible or disorganized, Saturn can make things feel a lot heavier before it gets lighter. So I do want to say that. We also have Saturn on the World card. I didn't even think about that. I normally think about it right away. Yeah, a lot of themes are repeating within this spread here, but we have this sense of pressure when it comes to the financial area. I have noticed that is a common theme no matter who has Saturn in their second house, or we can view this as transiting your second house. Even if you're doing quite well financially, there's still a bit of pressure here to make improvements, to grow, and to steadily build into something that is going to give you stability and longevity within your financial world. So I see a lot of your efforts going towards that direction. And in a way, if you are having some family issues, Saturn will want to resolve it. So that could be on your mind this month as well. And then sometimes this just creates distance between family, whether that is emotionally or physically. You may be going somewhere, they may be going somewhere, whatever the case may be. Or it may just feel like you don't have really maybe quality conversations where you are talking in depth, which is not surprising given this 10 of Wands energy. You have a lot to cover. You have a lot of bases to cover. You have a lot of ambitions, and you're doing a lot. And people around you can see how much you're doing. Don't think that your work is not being acknowledged here. People can see it for sure. And it's kind of interesting because I was doing a reading recently, and you know, if you guys haven't got a reading by me, this is Astro-Tarot research for a reading, for a reason. I do in-depth research when I look at you guys' charts, and I make sure that I'm giving very detailed answers. And a few of you have asked me some relationship questions. And so, you know, recently I have started, and this is, you know, relatively to this year being recently, I've started to look at timing of when relationships are formed, okay? And particularly I focus more on long-term relationships, but if the relationship is profound, and meaning profound in terms of like, maybe you're somebody who's been, I'll say chronically single. I don't know if that's the best word. Sometimes people get offended by it. If you're someone who's been chronically single, and let's say you've only had one relationship in a lifetime and it was just 6 months long, or a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, whatever the case may be, I would say that's a profound relationship because it's something that was significant in your life and it happened in this short period and hasn't happened for a while, right? So I would include that in the data. So one thing that I want to say when it comes to bringing this topic up is that one of the strongest indicators of someone starting a committed relationship is Saturn going through the second house. I know people think of it all the time as connected to just finances and values, but we have to remember Saturn rules the house of family. And when you are married, you become a family. That's why in Vedic astrology, it is very connected, very much so, to the person that you marry and who you form long-term partnerships with, because that is based on your values, and they become your family. So when we see this Saturn in the second house, you could start to think about like the type of person you want to form a relationship. And this can even be a month of possibly going in that direction of, if you've been single for a while, you're getting back out there, or you were taking steps to get back out there. Whatever those steps may be, maybe you're getting your mind right. Maybe you're like, well, I got to hit the gym because I got to, attract people or something. Whatever the case may be. So this may be a month of that. And I do want to acknowledge that. Also, if you are dating someone, maybe you're moving to the next step and you guys are entering that committed stage, or you might be meeting someone possibly who you might end up in a long-term relationship with. So I do want to say that. But overall, this is a month of growing, especially when it comes to your self-esteem, your self-worth, understanding more about yourself. Saturn in Pisces is going to want to do that. It's all about that deep inner world, the world that no one has access to. We can never get inside someone else's head, right? And so this is about cleaning that out, cleaning house in that area, getting your mind right, okay? And so I feel as though that is happening, okay? Don't know how many times I got to say okay. When we have the 10 of Wands here, what I want to say is, I think we briefly touched on it, that you've more than likely are going through a lot right now. The 10 of Wands is such an overwhelming feeling of just having so much to take care of, or so many goals to tackle. You're spinning and going in different directions. There's no time to rest. You have been breaking your back recently, this year, whatever the case may be, but you have been putting in work and you're tired. We know it. You're tired. Okay, pile number one, we're going to acknowledge that. And so it feels as though this month is a little bit lighter than the last month, a little bit. Okay. I'm not saying all the way, because we do have that World card here and you still have that Saturn in the finance area. So this is why I said earlier that you're still bringing a little bit of that energy, maybe a good chunk of it, into this month as well. You have a lot of goals to meet, and I love to see the 10 of Wands, because generally I get this card for achieving goals. I know it can feel overwhelming and overburdened, but I don't get the 10 of Wands to represent failure ever. That's not how it shows up for me. It may show up for other readers in that way, but it hasn't shown up for me in that position yet. So achieving a lot this month, but you're taking on a lot, but be proud of yourself. You are very accomplished. And we have the Moon card when it comes to finances, also family and self-esteem. The Moon card can be a card of confusion. It kind of reminds me of the 7 of Cups in a way, where there is a sense of not knowing which direction to turn to. But I think the Moon card here, at least in my experience, it relies a little bit more on your intuition. I will say this, with the Moon card in tarot, it is a card of even addressing some personal fears or concerns within yourself. And maybe you are feeling as though, like some people have, what do you call it? Imposter syndrome. And they fear that they may never be enough, or they're not enough. And I believe this combination of cards is a direct reflection of that type of feeling. Not saying that you may be feeling this, but some of you might, some of you might be feeling this way. You might be feeling as though you're confused about your worth. You're confused about the value you bring to your environment, or to the people in your lives. There's a feeling of self-doubt when it comes to the Moon. And particularly in astrology, Moon card people often deal with a sense of needing reassurance from other people, which, because they need that reassurance for other people, they're also reaching out to reinsure other people, right? They're like, yeah, you're doing a good job. They want to lead with the compliments. They want to encourage people, not to the level of Jupiterian people, but generally it is there. And so it may feel like this month you need that positive reinforcement to bring you a sense of clarity. And you might be caught in a loop of second guessing yourself a little bit. So that is something to keep in mind. Also, because the Moon is reflective of the sun's light. It's kind of like an external force. And this also leans back into needing that validation and encouragement from others. So you may feel like your self-esteem is being put up or put down by other people around you this month, rather than being this sort of stable force where it's like, I feel good about myself regardless of what anyone else says. The moon card takes in other energies, right? So if other people are treating them bad, then they start to feel bad about themselves, which is completely natural and completely normal. Just want to emphasize that. And that could be happening this month. You might find people are saying things to you and making you feel as though, oh, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Or did I say that right? Was that awkward? You know, maybe I could have done that better. Maybe they are right. Maybe X, Y, and Z, da, 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 right? And it becomes about internalizing the beliefs of how people view you to be reality. So this month will have to, there's going to be some internal work here. There's going to be an opportunity for growth and self-reflection, which I believe we covered with this Saturn and Neptune in the second house, where you're going to have to face those inner doubts, right? Where you're going to have to figure out what's real and what's not, and do your best not to be overwhelmed by other people's opinions or trying to gauge their perceptions on how you might come across, right? I do want to say that when it comes to this card. I will also say when it comes to things such as finances, this could be a feeling of believing that you have more than you think you do, if that makes sense, right? Because the moon here represents things that are uncertain, that there's a lot of confusion. So not everyone takes a very critical look at their finances all the time, even though we all probably should, but we don't have these moments all the time. And so this month you might be spending more than what you're making, and you might be like, oh wait, I thought I had that extra 100 to spend, or oh, I haven't been budgeting right, I forgot that I bought X, Y, and Z, or something like that. And so the finances can be a little bit confusing overall. And then sometimes this is just dealing with institutions that have strange policies when it comes to finances, or a lot of changes in that area that you're like, I don't know what's going on here. My financial advisor says this, and the bank's telling me this thing, and how does this work? Why isn't this charge coming through? Or I paid off this credit card thing. Why doesn't it show up on my account? So you have to go back and forth with the customer service at the bank, and you're like, hey, I sent the money. Here's the date, da da da, whatever. And so there's just a lot of confusion in that area. I just want to say that when it comes to this month, it may not even be you. You could be on top of things, but then the people who are in charge of holding your money or managing your money, in some regards, they might be, unclear this month, dropping the ball. But also a positive thing is you might be trusting your intuition to take risk or opportunities when it comes to the financial sector in your life. One thing I've noticed about the moon card is that they will put themselves out there. It's like, hey, I see an opportunity, I go for it, I'm going to take a chance. The only thing that could be something that's more extreme in terms of taking a chance might be like gambling, right? Because more than likely with gambling, you lose. But something taking a risk and taking a chance that's generally going to be a little bit more positive might be stocks, because, stocks always go up, or at least the, what is it, S&P 500, right? That always goes up no matter what, over time. So that's like taking a risk, right? Unless something wild happens where the entire American economy fails, but it usually doesn't fail for 10 years straight. So I do want to say that's something. And then also, lastly, I want to say you could be making money off of something creative. Now, when it comes to family, like I said, family dynamics might be a little bit confusing this month. We do have this 8 of Cups when it comes to family as well, because this is loved ones as when it comes to this pile. So these piles have some things in common. And the Eight of Cups is like I'm changing up the vibe, I'm changing up the dynamic when it comes to our relationships to each other, how we communicate, how we interact. Something is being transformed and changed here, whether that is diving in deeper or just deciding that, hey, I don't really mess with the way that we are engaging with each other. I find it very frustrating. I find it a little bit confusing. There's a lot of ups and downs and different cycles, just like the moon. And I just need to step away. Could be something like that. Or like I said, it could be just saying, hey, you know, we've moved into a place where we're providing each other more support. I always talk with my hands and I forget to like put them on camera. So if you don't see my hands, like, you know, it's because I'm moving them closer to my face. Like if you see me on camera in the lives, guys, you know I talk with my hands a lot. But anyway, I just had that thought because I was like, you guys are just hearing my voice, but you're probably used to it. That's just me being a little bit self-conscious. But anyway, moving on when it comes to the career, we have the Six of Cups as career. So the Six of Cups as career is definitely feeling as though you're doing some reflection when it comes back to your past roles. You know, and then even at work, sometimes this is like reverting to things that people used to do. Sometimes you get a new system in place or somebody has a new idea and you want to test it out or you want to try it out. And then it's like, oh, I don't think this is working. We've been doing this for a few months. Let's kind of like revert back to what we were doing before. Let's organize things how we were doing before. Let's go back to an older system. Let's, I know there's different ways people can structure. Let's change our policies back to how they were before. These are a little bit unclear. So there's certain things that could be like, hey, we're going back to how we used to be things in the environment at work or career. And if you are unemployed right now, this obviously is going to represent that you might be doing that similarly when it comes to tackling those job applications. If you are applying for jobs where you're like, hey, I've tried this new tactic. That didn't really work too much. I got more interviews with the past tactic, so I'm going to go back to that. Okay. Also, you might even find that you are pulling out an old skill and applying that to your environment at work this month. That's a possibility, we never know. Maybe you are someone who took a class in Excel and then now you guys have to make a certain Excel document. You're like, oh, I remember that class I took. I'm going to apply the tools I learned in that Excel class to this project. And that's something that could be what's going on here. And if you are one of those people who are, let's say you were working from home and then you've been called back into the office, it's like, oh, wow, back to that familiar space. And then if you work in a client-facing industry, you might see some old customers this month. Like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while, et right? That's something that can happen when you have this. Generally, I see the Six of Cups, though, to be a supportive work environment. So that's nice to see when I have that here, especially since the Eight of Cups is following it. Even if things are a little bit, maybe some areas of work could need some clarification or improvements. For the most part, the system around you generally seems to be supportive, and I do want to make that known. Also, this can just providing service to people this month. As I said, part of that supportive aspect is that you're listening to your coworkers, you're hearing them out, as well as they're hearing you out. You guys are talking about your lives. This isn't just work oriented. This is more of an emotional bonding card as well. So I do want to say that there's a sense of fulfillment here. It's simple, it's uncomplicated. Work is pretty steady this month. So I do want to say that. Positive vibes in the area for the most part. Just want to say, there may be some hiccups because it's next to that moon card, but for the most part, the work environment, same old, Eight of Cups when we go to love life, family, things that are generally going on. Well, the Eight of Cups here is you are changing the pace, which we said before when it comes to your love life. We talked about how you might be getting back out there if you're single. and how you might even just feel like sometimes it's like I just need to take a break. Like maybe you've been dating a while, and the Eight of Cups is like I'm walking away from that. Like I'm taking a pause. I'm changing tactics, and I'm switching it up. You know, I don't feel the same sense of fulfillment, or I'm just a little worn out. I'm just going to let this go. You know, I remember getting the Eight of Cups one time to just represent like needing to take some time off from work. So normally, you know, I show up every day. This time I was like, you know what? I need some time off. I just need to move away from this, and I need to break up the pace. And so there's a sense of breaking up the pace this month, whether you are single or whether you're in a relationship. It really doesn't matter. Some of you might even be moving on from a relationship. Obviously, the Eight of Cups represents that sense of detachment. This is unfulfilling for me. I'm not liking it here. I don't feel like this connection is going anywhere. It doesn't provide me the sense of love, compassion, fulfillment that I need within a relationship, and I have to move on. That could be possibly it. Or maybe you're feeling like we need to get deeper within our relationship, because obviously the Eight of Cups connects to going deep and research as well. So maybe it's possible that you are hearing some advice from other people, or maybe this is the result of your own self-reflection. We do have that Saturn in Pisces here. And you're deciding, hey, I want to apply my new way of thinking into my relationship so we can really build upon our intimacy. I don't want to have this surface level relationship. I want to go deeper. I want to be more vulnerable. I want to connect in a different way. But I know a lot of you are single, so I'm going to say lean a little bit more towards the personal growth side, towards the, you know, either taking a break from dating or really deeply considering trying to get back out there. The Eight of Cups is making moves to put themselves out there if they are single. They're like, I'm not satisfied with these choices. I've got to make some changes, and I've got to move on and go to the next level. You know, I've got to get to a different circle. I don't want to date these people around me. I've got to move further. And maybe for some of you that could represent, I'm going to go find somebody overseas, or I'm going to go to the next town over. I'm going to try going to different venues, or I'm going to go approach this a new way. I'm going to ask friends, hey, you know this person, da, 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 right? I'm single, putting it out there. If you know anyone, you know, let me know, right? So there is that. It could be taking that approach. The Eight of Cups is an active card. They're not passive. Like you can see them, they're moving away from the cups. They are taking action. And so I do want you to know that you will likely be taking some new actions when it comes to your love life. Just wanting that to be known, stepping away from even certain behaviors, whether that is avoiding certain behaviors in other people or even avoiding those behaviors yourself, right? Because that can be it. You can say, hey, you know what? I probably haven't been the most communicative. I don't think I have been responding as quickly to texts. Maybe I've been a little bit immature in certain areas, or maybe I've been avoiding certain conversations. The Eight of Cups is like, I'm moving away from that. We're going to have the hard conversations. Now, when it comes to things that you love, because this pile also represents that, you know, this is definitely wanting to make changes in those areas as well. You might be tired of doing the same things over and over again, okay? You're saying to yourself, I need transformation. I need to move on to the next thing. I need to try something new. I want something that's going to be deep and meaningful. Maybe you're just like, you know what, for fun, I always go and hang out with brunch with my friends, and that's great. I love the bonding time. It's a beautiful experience, but I want something that is going to be a little bit more personally fulfilling. And the reason I say I want something more personally fulfilling is because the Eight of Cups goes to the Nine of Cups, which represents personal fulfillment, okay? Nines are very self-centered cards, though they do care about other people, but it's more so about you. And so you're like, I want something that's kind of just for me, something that is going to ignite my fire, ignite my soul, and really feel authentic to myself, that I can do with my free time. Maybe that is if you don't have a hobby, because not everyone has hobbies. You think about exploring hobbies. You think about things that you want to do. You know, like maybe I want to go learn how to run track, or maybe I want to start ballet, even though, you know, I'm in my late 20s or something like that, or early 30s. So it's really just representative of wanting to try something different when it comes to how you've been spending your free time. You know, maybe you come home, you relax, you watch TV, you have a good meal or whatever the case may be. You order in, or order out, I should say. Order in. That's if you go somewhere. You order out and you're like, you know what? I've been doing this too long. I need to break this up. You know, I need to go out and do some things, or vice versa. I need to stay inside, whatever, you know. But whatever the case may be, it's more so bringing about more freedom, more change, more emotional fulfillment in your life. So it doesn't feel as if it is dissatisfactory, right? So you don't have that sense of boredom or, you know, emotional emptiness. I don't know, that sounds harsh, but like, yeah, sometimes it can feel that way, right? Sometimes life can feel that way. When we have the World card as the overall feel of this month, like I said, I've never gotten that 10 of Wands to represent not being successful. So this is actually a great card for the month. Like, you are achieving those goals. You are completing a cycle. You're moving on to the next chapter, which we definitely got by that 8 of Cups here as well. And you probably hit some sort of milestone in your life. This also represents recognition. Like I said, people see you're working hard. So you may even receive some sort of recognition in yourself, whether that is personal, whether other people are, you know, giving you that applause here. But it does show that what you have set your mind out to, you have actually accomplished and brought it into fruition. I will say I do get the World card to represent those heavy responsibilities. So I think I mentioned that briefly earlier with the World card, but it doesn't matter because it's generally a card of representing, hey, I've succeeded. And I love that the cards indicate that you are feeling a sense of contentment, at least by the end of this month. Not everything's perfect, but you're like, things are more grounded. I have a stronger sense of direction. I know where I'm at. I know where I'm going. So you feel a little bit stronger within yourself, or you're growing stronger within yourself this month. And then quite literal things that happen when it comes to the World card. As I said, we all know it's travel. We all know that it can connect to, you know, winning awards or receiving some kind of bonus or bump. I feel like the World card also can represent, it can represent meeting people who are like very highly educated and things along the lines of that, finishing up a long-term project, leaving a job, leaving a house, changing up a routine and finally settling into something that you like, getting a new car, whatever the case may be. But there are these levels to it, you know, getting engaged if you're in a relationship. Not saying you're all getting engaged this month, but that would be moving to a next chapter. So it feels like that's what's happening for you. I had a 90-day workout plan. This is the completion of that cycle. I did 75 hard, and now this month I completed 75 hard. That happens, but overall, you're looking back at this month and like, I'm proud of me. And I love that for you guys. Now, as I mentioned before with the month for Sagittarius vibes, you know, Sagittarius all about that explorer, Dora the Explorer energy, a sense of freedom, breaking free. And if you're not, like if you're feeling confined, if you're feeling weighed down, you're making more efforts to break free and be unbound this month. Whatever that is binding you. Like I said, whether that's a relationship, whether that is, you know, certain, sometimes it's our own behaviors, you know, self-sabotaging behaviors. Like, I'm going to unbind myself from this. I'm going to transform. I'm going to beautify myself. I'm going to get to that next level in terms of, gosh, there's so many levels we can go to in life, in terms of career, in terms of love, in terms of housing, in terms of I don't know, getting a new fresh set of teeth. Maybe some of you get your braces off this month. That is quite possible if you have adult braces. But you're looking to bring about more freedom into your life. So I just want you to know that when I see that Sagittarius month. A lot of research, a lot of deep thinking. Sagittarius is very heavy minded. You know, think about Hermione and Harry Potter, very much like, you know, know-it-all energy, making sure you're staying informed. Sometimes this can represent I'm going to like a cultural festival or a cultural event, something that's outside of my norm. It doesn't even have to be all that cultural. Maybe it's just not the same crowd that you're used to, because Sagittarius is all about going towards these unknown environments and exploring something that is foreign to you, okay? Whatever the case may be when it comes to that. Certifications, certificates, these are all of the things that can be happening this month. Relocating to a new country, or having more so of a spiritual awakening event, talking about your beliefs, speaking your truth. These are all of the things that are happening when it comes to this month. For me, I've noticed that it just makes things feel a little bit lighter. Last Sagittarius feel month I had, you know, I took a break. I traveled, not far, just within the country. I traveled. I was hanging out with friends, and it was a good time. It was a break from the heaviness of life. And so I feel like this month you might even get a little bit of break from the heaviness that you have been carrying. So I do want you to know that. But that is what I have for you, pal. Number one, you have a beautiful month ahead for you. You are working your butt off, and it is going to pay off. If you want a private reading from me, link is in the description bar below. Don't forget, I go live on the weekends. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can come for tarot insights. I do a weekly look ahead, a forecast, so we can see what's coming next. I also do astrological insights. So there is a video I currently have up about Saturn's transit in Uttara Bhadrapada. And I'm planning to do a few more of those. Not that many, to be completely honest. I just have a lot of things on my plate right now, but I do want to incorporate that more, so because I know you guys enjoy having those astrological insights to see the energies that's coming up next. And I think that's all the announcements now. Oh, don't forget to go to the community tab to vote on lots of different things. I love getting your thoughts on different cards. I love knowing what's going on in your own lives. You get to vote on what readings may coming up next. There's a lot going on there, you know. I just want to, you know, stay engaged with you all. So that's what I have, and I'll see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pal. Number two, let's get started on your October 2025. We have the Three of Pentacles. We have the Emperor. Three of Pentacles is where you are. The Emperor is finances. We have the Nine of Wands for career. We have the Queen of Swords for love. And I don't know why this is here. This should be like this. We have the Queen of Pentacles, but she is reversed as an overall feel for this month. And we also have Pisces. How did my hair get over there? We also have our Astro dice, guys. So let's get into that. Okay, we have the first house, Gemini, Sun. So Sun is in the first house in Gemini. Yeah, definitely some changes when it comes to your appearance or even just your general outlook. Not every time Gemini people change their appearance, but sometimes they might experiment with perfume, fragrances, just be very more so like hygienic, especially with Sun in the first house. Not to say that you're not hygienic, but sometimes when I see Sun goes to the first house, I've noticed a lot of Sun energy is like, let me get like a hand scrub that's like a sugar scrub to make my hands smoother. Let me buy this new soap. I want to wash my face 2 or 3 times a day. Like it's usually like an increase of cleanliness that could be going on, especially when it comes to your physical body. It may extend beyond the, I don't want to say basics because it just depends on who you are, but it may extend beyond your normal care, okay? So that could be going on this month in terms of that. The Sun in the first house definitely can bring about some happiness, some joy, fulfillment, things along the lines of that. Some attention being come your way, because the sun in the first house is like, oh, this person is very magnetic. So you may stand out to others a lot this month. The sun is also sort of like this guiding light. And so I wouldn't be surprised if people came to you seeking answers or your opinion on certain things, or reaching out to you in some way in regards to that. Sun in the house of Gemini, you know, you could be taking some, sun in the house of Gemini, sun in the sign of Gemini, you could be taking some short trips. I've noticed that the Gemini energy, especially sun in Gemini, not known for being like world travelers, you know, they stay locally. And I think that fits the Gemini meaning when it comes to short travels, right? And so I feel as though there is a lot of that going on when it comes to this month. Just a lot of short trips going on. Doesn't have to necessarily be I'm out of state or whatever like that. But you could just find yourself going to the mall, you know, going to the gas station. I don't know, maybe you have, if you're taking a lot of short trips, I guess you're going to go get gas more. Going out to eat, going to a friend's house, going to a lover's house, a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case may be, but you are traveling a little bit more. Maybe you have to do more commutes towards work. Some people do a hybrid schedule, and maybe this month just demands more of them in terms of that. So you can keep that in mind when it comes to the flavor of this month. Another thing is this could be illuminating your mind. You could be enlightened on a few things when we have this sun in the sign of Gemini, okay? It's all about expanding your intellect. And we do have that Queen of Swords when it comes to things that you love. And so the Queen of Swords loves to learn. She loves to expand her mind. She's very intellectual. She likes developing new skill sets, or even just refining the skill sets that she has. And that could be something that you're doing this month as well. Another thing that this can possibly do is you may be more willing to take more chances and have a sense of like bravery, like your bravery gets increased. And that's really not surprising given that we have the Emperor here for this second house position, because I read it like an astrology chart in some ways with this reading, but we'll get to that in a moment. But that's generally the vibes we're going to get here when it comes to the sun in the first house. I don't want to spend too much time on this and sun in the first house in Gemini. I'll say one last thing that, you know, sometimes when you have sun in the first house in Gemini, this can represent just feeling a little bit more like you can get irritated a little bit easier. So I guess be on the lookout for that, you know, the mood swings, I might call it. I don't know what else word or phrasing I could use, but sometimes people are just going to get on your nerves. So I do want to say that. We have the Three of Pentacles here for where you are. Either you're wrapping something up, you just recently completed something, or maybe you're just in work mode, you're in grind mode. Because sometimes I get the Three of Pentacles to represent, all right, I'm in the work grind, I'm working my 9 to 5, or however long your shift is. So 12 to 12, you know, could be a nurse's shift or something like that. 12 hours, I should say, not 12 to 12. It's like 7 to 7. That might be a nurse shift. But anyway, who cares about the specifics? But whatever it is, you're in work mode, you're grinding away. That could be possibly it. Another thing is you are looking for more collaborations. Now, what you could be collaborating on, who knows? Maybe you're just collaborating to plan an event. Granted, Pentacles seem to be more practical oriented. And so this I've seen more with like school, work, other obligations. Like if you were part of like a church ministry, this would be like, okay, we're organizing our choir rehearsal, etc., things like that, along the lines of that. Or if you're part of some other type of group here, you're like, hey, we're part of a bungee jumping group, we're planning to go out there on the weekend. It's something a little bit slightly more formalized, you know, there's some structure to it. And so you're in that place in your life where you are structuring things, and you may be doing that with other people involved. This could even be something like, hey, I'm having my house, I'm having a deck built on my house or something like that. Or I am painting it black and I have to work with people to get this color and have the house painted and things along the lines of that. But you know, it's just a time of collaboration, working with others, and even just working in general with this Three of Pentacles card, right? Now, when it talks about the finances, and I do want to say first on before I move to the finances, the Three of Pentacles, you're probably going to bring in some of that energy as you move to the rest of this month. All right. So you should be building, completing things, marking things off your to-do list, your checklist, your bucket list. You're like, okay, I'm wrapping this up. Like I remember getting the Three of Pentacles when I was finishing up a class, you know, so it was the final week of class. I got the Three of Pentacles. We were wrapping things up. It was a completion, right? So there's some things you might be wrapping up this month, October. Forgive me, I'm a little bit stuffy, guys. We have the Emperor card when it comes to your finances. Pretty stable here, right? The Emperor is structured. He's in control. He has a strong sense of stability and comfort within him. And so your finances are pretty good. Even if you don't think so, they are pretty good. The universe is giving you the stamp of approval here and saying, yeah, things look good here. Seems like you're doing your best. The Emperor card, though, he's always looking for improvements and he's always looking to change and transform things for the better. So when we see this Emperor card energy, there is a lot of work and energy being poured into the financial area. Now, whether that is you trying to gain more finances, looking for another job, convincing someone of a promotion, I'll say this, like I remember getting the Hangman, and this is related, and the Hangman is more passive, right? He's not going to ask for a raise. He's just going to, you know, work and see how things go and play out, right? Versus the Emperor, he's going to take a more active role in saying, hey, I deserve a promotion because of this, this, and this. Or the Emperor will be more entrepreneurial, which I've seen him more associated with entrepreneurs than 9-to-5s. But he's going to say, I'm going to go make money for myself. And so there is that. You could be considering a side hustle or turning a side hustle into your main hustle. And that's something that you'll probably want to focus on. If you already have a side hustle, then this could be you pouring more of your energy into that. And actually, you're doing well. You know, sometimes most of us start off small, then we grow. And the Emperor card is here saying, you're making the right moves this month when it comes to making sure that you are grow and that you have a strong foundation, that you are building whatever career objective that can bring in more income to you. It's good, you know, that's what the cards are basically saying. It's saying you're building that strong foundation. It's solid. So I do want that to be known. But as I was saying, the Emperor looks towards the future when it comes to finances. So you could be doing some future financial planning. Maybe you're looking at your Roth IRA, yeah, or your 401k, and you're looking like, okay, how many contributions do I need to make a month before I hit coast fire, right? And I don't have to like worry about it as much. Or how far away am I for retirement? What does it look like for when I retire? Have I set myself up in that way? So you could be looking and investing in more of that. You could also be looking at like things you potentially want to buy in the future and what type of budget you would need for that. Like if you're like, hey, I want to buy a condo, you're looking up places where you could potentially want to live, and then you're figuring out, okay, I need to make this much to live here. Well, I make this much now, so I would have to get this type of job to work this way. And you're thinking on a very strategic level. So you're very strategic about your finances and even thinking towards future spending this month. So I really do like to say that, see that, because it shows to me you're being very smart when it comes to your money. So money is good, money's stable, nothing is rocking your foundation this month. It shouldn't be throwing you for a loop, and even if it's throwing you for a loop, you're going to face it head on. You know what I mean? You're going to end up coming out on top. Even if there's some surprise bill, you're like, okay, I can handle this, because the Emperor always has a plan. Also, when it comes to your self-esteem, love this card for that. The Emperor is a confident person. And so you are confident in your abilities to handle things. There's really no need to expand further than that. You're just going to be feeling really good about yourself this month for the most part. And I think that aligns well with that Sun in your first house, right? Sun is a card of confidence and ego. And so it really does show that you're taking pride in yourself and you're feeling good about the things you do. The Emperor also, when it comes to diet, because I read this card as the second house and the things that you consume, pretty good when it comes to diet. The Emperor eats well, he eats luxuriously. So this to me would indicate like more high quality food this month, or even just food that really fuels your body. So the Emperor is not eating a bunch of junk food. Not to say that he doesn't, you know, crave Cheetos or cookies or something along the lines of that every now and then. But for the most part, the Emperor has a very strategic or strict diet, I'll say like that. He has a particular diet, but also This can show that you're not limiting the expenses, because emperors are known for being extravagant. They're known for like throwing those big festive meals and parties for people like that. So you could be doing that yourself, but the meaning I want to take from this is like, whatever you want to eat, you're going to be eating. It's not eating. It's not like, oh, I'm going to put restrictions on that. If I want to eat it, I want to eat it. But obviously I would like it to be in alignment with my dietary needs. Okay, so that is what I want to say there, right? Now, when we have the Nine of Wands for career, you know, it can be pretty tough, this career, but I do like this Emperor card here, because to me it shows that you're ready for the fight, man. You've got that fire in you. You have that confidence in you. So at work, with the Nine of Wands, definitely you can run into some people who can be pretty stubborn, who can be hard to get along with. You know, sometimes people just want to do things their way, and it is so unproductive, but they are so hard-headed, right? That is kind of like the vibe. So your work environment can be that way. Now, for a small percentage of you, maybe you guys are that way. Maybe you guys are feeling like, I don't want to collaborate. But I don't believe that, because we're starting this month with this Three of Pentacles energy. So I feel like most of you are in that collaboration mindset. So this is really about holding your ground, like saying, hey, I have the knowledge, I have the expertise, I've had this job for X amount of years, or I've had this background, and this is how things should be going, okay? So you might even be finding yourself setting some strong boundaries at work with people, or needing to guard your energy a bit, because some people, colleagues, bosses, supervisors, whatever, they may be draining you, or they may be trying to put limits on your progress, because sometimes that happens, right? Sometimes people get in this weird, competitive, fearful space, and they try to block other people's growth. But here, you're staying strong, you are enduring, and you're like, I'm not gonna let anyone walk all over me. But it does show you're a little bit at your limits. You're tired of work, man. The Nine of Wands, he doesn't want to show up there every day. Like, he's tired, he's wounded, he's broken down. So this month feels like, wow, this is hard to get through in terms of work. And if you are unemployed, then this is the same thing when it comes to the job search. Like, you might feel as though you are exhausted and you're drained, and it's a bit discouraging, but you still move on, you still keep going, and you still find motivation within you to keep going. But you're feeling it, you're feeling the weight of it, you're feeling like, oh man, I just can't get a call back, or all I get is these rejections, or I go through multiple rounds of interviews and then, you know, they reject me. It can happen like that, you know, really. But I will say this month, you are showing your strengths. You are overcoming any obstacle or any task they throw your way. You're getting it done. And Nine of Wands is a very skilled card. So you might even be surprising yourself at how much you accomplish within the workspace this month. Or even if, like I said, if you're unemployed, about how much you accomplish. Because sometimes when you're unemployed, you can still take courses. You might accomplish some courses. That's cool. Great. That's more than great. And then also you might feel like, wow, I've applied to like 200 jobs this week. That's incredible, right? So you might even surprise yourself with how much you do. I will say the Nine of Wands does have that credibility to them. Like I said, they have that expertise, they have that backing. And so people do recognize that they are champions in their own right. So people, even if they come for you, they can't diminish your skill set. But I do want to say that, yeah, you could be worn out by customers, clients, staff, bosses, supervisors. That can be a thing that is happening with this month. But overall, you're not defeated. You're still holding your ground, and you're making sure that you're holding in there. Now, you might want to be looking for something else, because nines represent endings. But hold in there. It's, you know, it's coming to a close. We do have that sun in the first house, and that can definitely represent a new beginning, a new energy shift. Queen of Swords when it comes to romance. Now that's very interesting, because the Queen of Swords, she's not this open, active, lovey-dovey type of card. She's very logical. She's very fair. She's objective, especially when it comes to love. She's not one of those cards that lets her feelings run away with her. She has very clear eyes and clear standards, and she doesn't come to play. You know what I mean? She's very much like, you know, act like a woman, think like a man, all right? If you don't meet the bar that the Queen of Swords set, she will chop you down. So I really do feel as though this month, when it comes to love, you don't come to play. This is standing on business 100% when it comes to the Queen of Swords. It also shows that you're not letting your feelings carry you away. Sometimes, you know, we get in these thought processes or thought spirals, and we make assumptions about other people, or maybe we judge too quickly, or maybe we're too lenient. The Queen of Swords doesn't do that. She just looks at the behavior. She looks at the words. She takes an objective bird's eye view and says, okay, this person is good for me based off of this, or this person is bad for me based off of this. So you're taking that approach when it comes to love, being very strategic and very logical and fair. You know, not just to others, but to yourself. You know, you're like, I need to honor myself. I need to honor my own feelings. I need to honor what's right for me. And not only are you being honest in your communication, but you might even be attracting other people who are honest with you. And if they're not, you're going to figure it out pretty quickly here with this Queen of Swords. And this is specifically for those who are single. What this can mean is you might be attracting partners who are a bit more intellectual, you know what I mean? And very straightforward, especially with this Queen of Swords energy. That would indicate those vibes there as well. Some level of intelligence and what's the word? Differentiation. You know, the type of person who's not going to be reactive. You know, if they see someone who's like yelling, cursing, da da da, they don't automatically start yelling and cursing back. They're just like, okay, that person's upset. Right? And they're able to keep that calm tone. They're differentiated. So you're going to meet people who are pretty level-headed in that way. I love this too, because this might even show that there are less mixed signals here. And even if there are mixed signals, you're able to cut through them and you're to be able to see clearly. Now, for those of you who aren't even dating at all, you're like in total hermit mode. You're like, I'm not even talking to no guy, no woman, no whatever. This is just you doing your own thing, you know. I feel as though the Queen of Swords, as I mentioned before, she's always trying to upskill. She's always trying to learn something new. She's always trying to gain some new hobbies. She's reading, she's writing, she's watching TV, she's researching. She might even do some vlogging or blogging, whatever the case may be. Some puzzles, some games. Like she likes to keep her mind active. Sometimes she does some creative things, but you know, generally it may be something along the lines of design or script writing or something along the lines of that, or editing. That could be creative in some sorts. So there's a lot of that going on. Excuse me guys. There's a lot of that going on when it comes to what you're doing, whether that's enjoying some nonfiction book, whether that is watching some true crime drama. You're trying to keep your mind stimulated, and you might even be thinking about different scenarios of like, what would I do in this scenario? Or this is good to know in the future and stuff like that, because the Queen of Swords wants to retain that information. It's a lot of mindfulness when it comes to that. So sharpening your insights, gaining new perspectives about what's going on in the world and different narratives. And one thing I found about the Queen of Swords is like she likes to dig deep, right? She's not just going to watch something just to watch something or read it to read it. She wants to know the deeper meaning behind it. Like, what's the core? What is the theme? What is the author trying to get across? What is the director trying to get across? What does that color mean? Why does this character talk with this accent? Why do they shoot from this angle? Like, she's very thoughtful when it comes to those things. And so you might be thinking very deeply about the things that you invest that free time in. And you know, there's a lot of different things that can come to that, but this is all about that mental stimulation and analyzing. And when it comes to love, speaking of mental stimulation and analyzing, even if you are single, this can definitely be about mentally stimulating yourself to like figure out what type of person works best for you. Sometimes we have to pause and we have to think, you know, we have to say, all right, I have this type of personality, you know, what would be a best fit for me? This type of lifestyle, what should I be looking for? Like, you're trying to strategize ahead, even if you're not clearly dating right now. Those of you in a relationship, similar to what I was saying before, how the communication will be a lot clearer. There is some strong boundaries on what can be said, what can't be said. You guys are being open to listening to each other's point of view. This is very good. This is very much like, I feel like I'm able to talk to you. I feel like we are both people who mutually respect each other. There's no sense of immaturity here. But at the same time, we have independence. We have our room to grow. You know, the Queen of Swords, she's not a clingy card. You know, she needs to be able to do her own thing. But I really do feel as though you're being fair and honest with each other this month. So there could be some really interesting and poignant conversations that you two might have. Now, the Queen of Pentacles reversed. I'm not really surprised to see this given the work environment. You are knackered, like the British say, right? You're knackered. You're tired, girl, or guy. Like, this is rough. Okay? So it may feel like this month you don't completely get to... It's hard to say because parts of the month, it's strictly like, hey, I get to level up when it comes to my self-care routine, but you may feel as though you can't get to the same level that you would like to get to because a lot of your energy and life force is being drained through either work or some other goals. And so you might even feel as though, oh, I feel as though I'm neglecting certain parts. I don't think you are, not with the sun in the first house in Gemini, but you might feel that way. You may feel like, oh man, I want to get my teeth whitened this month, but I don't have time to do that. And I don't know if that's in the budget or something like that, or, you know, things along the lines of that. So it can feel as though you set these really high standards for yourself that are really difficult to live up to because maybe your schedule is packed, okay? There could be that going on. Sometimes this can feel as though you're not receiving nourishment from others as well. Because sometimes it's not just yourself. Sometimes it's like, I feel like I don't have that support. You know, I'm a queen without a castle. I don't feel like people are acknowledging my royalty right now. You know what I mean? But it just feels like that. It just feels like you don't have the support that you need, whether that is emotionally or even just from a practical level. Because sometimes we do things that are a little bit different from the path that other people have chosen around us. And so they can't give us guidance or advice on that. And so the Queen of Pentacles reversed is like, oh, there's no one to turn to. I kind of have to figure things out for myself. Another thing is that, you know, sometimes this can represent that you're being too hard on yourself. You're being too critical on yourself. And the confidence is high this month, but sometimes we get into a space of perfectionism and we're just like, we want everything in our lives to line up the way we want them to line up. So there could be this mental space when it comes to that. And you may have so many things in your life that are amazing, but there may be one or two aspects that are just like, oh, if only this thing could get right. Then it would be amazing. And you might be focusing a little bit hard on that this month. But to be completely honest, you are doing so well for yourself. You know, you're accomplishing so much. You are being proactive about investing in yourself. You're holding it down there at work, literally. You know, you're holding it down for people. And people see it because this is also your reputation. So they're like, oh, this person, they did not come to play. And so you might even just be a little hard on yourself, right? You may feel like, I still have so many goals I want to accomplish and I'm not hitting them. Or I have some things I want to buy or some milestones I want to reach and I just haven't hit them yet. And I'm feeling like I'm a little bit behind, but you're not. But if that mindset is there, you're not, okay? I just want to say that. So keep that in mind here. And then sometimes we get the Queen of Pentacles reversed to represent like this month, you're more in a humble vibe. Like you're not going to, you don't feel the need to let people know you're that guy, you're that girl, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes the Queen of Pentacles ties She's amazing. She's fantastic. She's got a lot of things going for her, but she's not telling everybody her business like that. So you might just say, I'm just going to leave some accomplishments to myself. You know, I'm just going to be proud of myself. I'm not going to involve others when it comes to certain accomplishments or things that I am doing in my life. So I just want you to know that. But this can also be redefining those priorities. I just want to say that as well. Trying to figure out what is best for you when it comes to your goals, shifting away from certain things, saying, oh, this is not that important to me, or this thing is now more important to me. So there's that. But I do feel like with the Queen of Pentacles reversed, you want to let go of some responsibilities and you want to do it soon. Okay, at some point this month, you're like, I'm a little worn out. I kind of want to just pull away a little bit. So there could be that. And that's not surprising given that we have this Pisces card on the end. Pisces, the house of rest. Yes, my favorite house. So the house of rest, Pisces, this is why I said you might, to some degree, just feel like, I kind of want to let some things go because I feel like they are dragging me down. My energy levels are low. And it doesn't seem like this is fitting up to my timelines or what I want for myself. So I really do feel as though this month with the Pisces energy, you're like, I just need to lay back, to chill. I need a moment, okay? So I feel like with the Pisces card, I almost always get Pisces for several things. One, either you are going somewhere unless you typically don't go, meaning like out of state, a little bit further away, spending a night someplace, or somebody you know is doing that, and or more than multiple people, more than one person you know in your life is doing that, and you're like, oh, my friend is traveling to Africa this month. You know, that can get the Pisces card for that. Two, you're sick, you need a little sick day, or you're just taking a little vacay. That would be three, vacay. And then, you know, four is just a period of feeling like you're in a limbo, you're in a waiting period, you want things to hurry up and move forward, but you got to be patient. And it can feel like that, you know, especially with the Queen of Pentacles reversed. You're like, things are moving so slow. You know, I want things to move a little bit faster here, but it seems like there's some things I need to take care of before I can wrap things up, which goes right back to that Three of Pentacles, where you're wrapping certain things up this month. Things are coming to a close. And before you can move to that next stage, you have to complete them. Whatever it is that you're working on, all right? Whatever it is, pal number two. But Pisces energy really does connect to those things that I talked about. Generally, it is a feeling of anticipation, anxiousness, waiting, feeling as though like you want to escape into another world right now. Sometimes reality can be hard to deal with, and Pisces is that feeling of escapism and imagination. And so you're just like, I kind of just want to wrap myself up in a book. Like, I don't really want to deal with the reality right now because it's so busy, or it has X, Y, and Z going on, and that's causing me stress, and I just need to de-stress. So there's that. There could be a time for you just healing, focus, meditating. Even if you're not healing, you're just like, hey, I just need to relax. So there's a lot of that going on for you this month, wanting to get back into the space where you can relax. But that is what I have for you, pal number two. Please let me know if it resonates. I hope you have the best October. Don't forget, I go live on the weekends. That's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I post the time on the community tab by Tuesday night. If you want a private reading from me, link is in the description bar below. You should be notified right away as soon as you fill out the form. And then I will get back to you with your reading via email, guys. And anything else I want to add, don't forget to stop by the lives. You know, like I said, I go live on the weekend. We do a weekly collective, look ahead. Sometimes I tell you about the astrology and the transits and how they affect you. And then also you can ask me those questions in the live sessions. And I'm more than happy to answer them. You know, I love answering you guys' questions. And I think that is all. Don't forget to go to the community tab. You can vote on what readings we do next on this channel. I also like to ask you guys questions about tarot and your opinions on things, and just to get to know you guys, because I love getting to know you guys. And that's all I have for now. Au revoir. Hey astronauts, let's get into your October 2025. We have Judgment for where you are, the Nine of Pentacles for finances, the Page of Cups reverse for career. We have the Seven of Wands, and it would be upright, but since it's following the Page of Cups, we're going to reverse it. Sorry, there's like a hair. My hair's on the table. And then we have a Six of Pentacles for the overall month. And we have the Sun. Realize, creation of, the gaining of respect from. All right. So let's get into this. Oh, before I get started, I'm going to use my Astro dice. And we're using the Karma cards this month instead of the Nakshatras. Okay. We have the 11th house, Taurus, and Mercury. Okay. So Mercury in the 11th house in Taurus looks like we're focusing on gains. And that's not really surprising because we got this Nine of Pentacles in your financial position, second house position. I'm reading this as if this were a birth chart. And so from what I see from this combination of cards, Mercury is a really great card when it comes to accumulating resources. And so I feel as though the month of October, there's a lot more financial opportunities opening up for you. Maybe if you have a business, you might be gaining more clients, or you might be restructuring things so that you are creating more sales, you're marketing yourself. This is also a combination that might include like even opportunities to make connections that can lead to career gains, you know, maybe changes of title, changes of status. I've noticed when you have this energy going towards the 11th house, there's a lot of focus when it comes to putting efforts into making sure that your dreams come true. We don't always do this on a constant basis. Sometimes we have less energy. Sometimes we're not as motivated. But with Mercury in the 11th house, it's like I'm being strategic about how I can accomplish my goals, how I can make my wishes and dreams come true. And because Mercury is generally in Vedic astrology, the last accumulation point, like it rules the last sections of every nakshatra, I'll say quarter. I don't know how, it's not a quarter because it's not in fours, but there are like 6 different sections when it comes to nakshatras, and Mercury is the last placement in each section. Okay, I'll explain it that way. And because Mercury is in that placement, it brings about a little bit more ease when it comes to getting certain things that you desire and that you want. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm just saying it makes it slightly easier. Okay, if that makes sense. And also this can represent a lot of different communication with friends. This can represent that you are looking towards innovation and the future because the 11th house connects to Aquarius. And so you may be even looking at new avenues in which you can utilize, you know, modern technology or upcoming tools to benefit yourself in the future. And so this month you have a very innovative mindset, or you are even gaining skills in the areas that would be 11th house, which is like, oh, you're upping your communication skills. Maybe you're, like I said, practicing marketing yourself. And we don't just market ourselves when it comes to like, oh, I have a business or I'm looking to gain clients. We market ourselves to people all the time. Like if we want a job, if we are in an interview, if we are trying to, for some people, get into a school, you know, we're marketing ourselves. And so this Mercury in the 11th house is like, hey, this month I'm really focusing on strengthening my communication so that I can market myself and get the things that I desire and that I want. This can also represent that you are gaining skills. And what I mean by that, like, I mean that you may be like, there's an acknowledgement of like, hey, I got this certificate. You know what I mean? Like it's official, especially with Mercury in the 11th house. It's, Mercury represents generally the skills that you have in life. And so Mercury in the 11th house in Taurus can represent like, hey, I have got this skill that I have worked hard for and that I truly value, and it is branded and named, and now I am officially a pilot, something like that. That's what it can represent. And so you may get some sort of recognition in that way, whether that be like, oh, now I'm a 4.0 student, or now I have made the dean's list, or now I'm recognized with this title at work. 11th house and 10th house can connect to titles in that way. Now, Mercury in Taurus is generally a very creative vibe. Taurus is just a creative sign in general. But to me, it shows that you are being calculated and smart when it comes to your spending and what you put your money into. And this can also, if you're into the stock market, this whole combination will be gains in the stock market. And I feel as though you are taking very measured, thoughtful approaches when it comes to gaining resources, spending, budgeting. All of these things show that you are accumulating a lot of knowledge within these areas. And this can also represent that you are learning things about family this month, learning new things about friends. These are all possibilities when it comes to the month of October. And then, generally the 11th house can just represent windfalls. And obviously with Taurus in the 11th house, that can represent windfall of money, windfall of resources. Doesn't have to be money. Sometimes it's just support. And that is supported by the Six of Pentacles here. Windfalls of support. This can also represent just like having solid advice from people around you who can provide you direction. So I wanted to say that, but let us move on. So when we're talking about the place that you're coming from when it comes to this month, we have this Judgment card. Now, there are so many different meanings of judgment, but I'll do my best to capture the basics. Judgment is about leaving things behind. Like I said, it reminds me of the Tower, and I said this in a weekly live session, so make sure to come to the lives, that they are both connected to the sign of Scorpio, because the Tower is connected to Mars, which is connected to Scorpio. Pluto is connected to, obviously, Scorpio. And there's this element of transformation, transition, getting ready to move to this next stage of life. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you may traditionally think of as a next stage. Like I have mentioned before, the Judgment card can represent, hey, I'm becoming a mom, I'm becoming an uncle, I'm becoming an aunt, like I'm becoming a grandma, whatever the case may be. It can be that type of transition. This can be like, hey, I'm moving to a new state, I'm starting a new job, I'm closing out one chapter in a relationship. It's just about those transitions and transformations that we go to. And I remember that last time I pulled the Judgment card, just personally, it was a week in which I was ending a class. So it was the final week of a class. And so this is why I say judgment isn't necessarily always these big transitions, but it does represent a transformational phase. You end one phase and you enter another. And so that's where you're currently at when you're starting this month. You are ending a certain chapter within your life, whether that be in health, work, relationships, whether that be some sort of therapeutic breakthrough. Judgment card also connects to accountability. It also connects to personal insight. It connects to intensive research as well. So you might even be coming from a place where you have been doing a lot of deep thinking, a lot of research, and sometimes the Judgment card can represent a sense of forgiveness. But the main messages I have seen for Judgment generally represents a new start and no longer holding on to things of the past. You're not there anymore. You're entering a totally different stage in your life. And you're starting off this month with that energy. You're starting off this month feeling refreshed, feeling like you're letting go of burdens. So I really love that for you, pile number 3. Like, this sounds absolutely amazing that you're coming in with this fresh perspective, like you're going under some rebirth, that you have done some deep reflection, and you're accepting more responsibilities, and you're integrating past lessons. Now, if we go to the financial card, it totally makes sense why you're having some benefits when it comes to the financial area. We've kind of already talked about this Mercury and Taurus feel, where it's about learning about, it's about gaining financial literacy and things along the lines of that. And it really shows me with the Judgment card here, you may have even made some financial mistakes within the past. Just because we have like a lot of earth sign energy in this reading. It's the dominant energy with the 9 of Pentacles, the 6 of Pentacles, and Taurus. And to me, it shows that you may have made some choices within the past that may not have suited you the best way financially. And with the Judgment card here, you are applying those lessons. And because you're applying those lessons, it's causing you to grow. It's causing you to gain more independence. To me, this shows strength when it comes to your financial planning. The 9 of Pentacles is at a place in their life where they are also starting a new chapter, because all 9s connect to endings. We're in a 9 year right now. And so a lot of people are closing out a lot of chapters within their life. So obviously when it comes to finances, what this looks like is having enough savings. Maybe you're like, oh, I have 6 months left of savings and I feel comfortable. If anything were to happen to me, like I were to lose a job or I were to fall sick, I feel like I can take care of it. You're able to afford the small luxuries that you want. You're not stressing out over buying a new pair of shoes or a jacket or eating out. You're like, everything's fine. Everything's good. You're no longer in this place of survival mode. And even if you feel like you are, with the 9 of Pentacles here, I do want to assure you, the universe is saying you're doing good. Okay, I just want that to be known. Whether you feel that way, the universe is giving you that confirmation. The 9 of Pentacles is like you're able to spend your money on going shopping at, high quality grocery stores. I don't know where you guys are located, but in the DMV area, like let's say you have Safeway, and then you have something like Wegmans or Mom's or, gosh, what's the name of that store? Everyone loves it. You know what? I can't think of the Trader Joe's. And you're like, oh, now I can go and, go to Trader Joe's. I'm not shopping at Lidl's or Aldi's or, more cheaper price stores. I can afford something that's a little bit more quality. You're coming home to a clean and safe environment, because not only is this your finances this month, this is like the values you are moving through the month with. And the 9 of Pentacles prefers things to be neat and organized. So you're really emphasizing this sense of value and responsibility when it comes to this month. You are taking control and responsibility over your finances. There's a strong theme here, especially with Judgment and the 9 of Pentacles. Both of these cards connect to having strong senses of responsibility and accountability. And I feel like you are really owning that. The 9 of Pentacles also tells me that you'll be spending a little bit more of your money on things that are considered more leisure, things that have to do with making you feel good. And I think I've used this example before, but I remember vividly the 9 of Pentacles showing up to not just sort of represent, this typical things you might think 9 of Pentacles represents, like self-care and things along the lines of that. It does connect to that, but it was self-care in the sense of I was going to the movies, I was trying new things. I'm trying to remember what I was doing around that time. I was going to take a trip to see friends. You know what I mean? It's self-care in the way that's like, hey, let me cater to my emotions as well. Let me cater to doing things that make me feel good. Because having fun and enjoying your life is self-care. It is taking care of you. You do deserve that. And you're going to recognize that within yourself, especially since we have the Nine of Pentacles to also connect to your self-worth. You're feeling confident in yourself. You're feeling proud of what you have accomplished this month. You have this strong belief within yourself as you move through the month of October. You are celebrating yourself. This could be a solo trip. This could be taking yourself out to dinner. This could be a spa day. But whatever it is this month, it seems as though the spending habits are responsible. You have more than enough to support yourself. You might even be gaining in financial independence. If you felt like you've been dependent on certain people or certain things or certain systems for too long, this is you stepping up to create your own system and to create your own avenue when it comes to stability. And if it's not financial stability, it would certainly be some sort of emotional stability and grounding, some sort of mental peace, especially since we have the Six of Pentacles right under it and it represents the total vibe of the overall month. You feel supported, but you know that you can also take care of yourself. Now, when it comes to your career, we have the Page of Cups reversed. Now, when I see the Page of Cups reversed, to me, this is like someone is not offering that support, which is interesting. It can represent as there's a lot of mixed messaging. There's a lot of hurt feelings. There's a lot of immature attitudes, especially within the work environment. Or you yourself could feel a little bit moody when it comes to your job, where you might be overreacting. But it could go either way, guys. And, you know, it can be someone else is overreacting. You might be overreacting. We all get into these funks sometimes where we have bad moods. But generally, when I see the Page of Cups in the career position, it's as if you just don't want to be there. The Page of Cups reverse does not want to show up to work. They don't want, I can assure you. And then also with the Page of Cups reverse, this can represent, you know, as I mentioned, the Page of Cups can be very immature, even upright. So reversed, it's like, oh man, this person is petty. This person is immature. This person is being very vague. They're too casual. Sometimes this can represent people being too open, sharing too many personal details. And it's like, oh, I don't know about this. And then also it's as if when we have the Page of Cups reverse, sometimes it's like I'm ignoring my intuition. I'm doubting myself. I'm second guessing myself. Obviously, the Page of Cups reverse can connect to gossip. And so you may even feel like there's a lot of gossip going around within the office and maybe even some passive aggressiveness. Or maybe people feel oversensitive, or maybe you feel a little bit oversensitive. Like I said, we all get into those funks. One thing that is positive about the Page of Cups reverse is it can represent sort of like thinking differently and being a little bit more outside the box, because the Page of Cups can be quite the creative person. And so it's like going inside yourself to receive inspiration, because upright, the Page of Cups is pulling inspiration from everyone around them because they're communicating with everyone. But when the Page of Cups is reversed, it's like this inspiration came from within. And so this can be, I'm sparking this fresh idea that no one has considered. This is also saying that you're someone who is, maybe you're a little bit unpolished, or maybe that your communication is not what people expect from office culture, but you come across very genuine. And that can be something that is there. And also when we have the Page of Cups reverse, we all know pages, when we have these reverse court cards, it can represent a lot of inner reflection. And so maybe you're being very reflective when it comes to your interactions, when it comes to others. Sometimes when I see the Page of Cups reverse, it's about being extremely raw. It's about being highly vulnerable. And so to me, it can really go either way this month, but I do want you to be on the lookout, because When we have the Page of Cups reverse, similar to the Knight of Cups reverse, it can represent dealing with situations that are foreign to you, and you may be struggling to handle that emotionally, because we're not always equipped to handle every situation that is thrown our way. One thing though that I love about this is you're not letting certain things get to you. You know what I mean? Especially since we have the Six of Pentacles for the overall feel of the month. To me, it shows that even though, you know, there may even be some pettiness, or, you know, people are being a little bit too quirky, or you may even find that work itself is like, this is not organized at all. People seem to be like more into socializing rather than doing work, or they want to talk about this and that. You know, sometimes when you have disagreements about how work is done or different ways of working, you know, some people, they just kind of talk over and over, like, why would you do this? Da, 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 da. Instead of thinking of a solution, they just kind of go back and forth. That is very Page of Cups reverse. It's like you're focusing on the wrong thing. Like, what's the goal here? So the Page of Cups reverse can sometimes forget what's the goal. And and they just want to vent, and they just kind of want to put their feelings out there. It's very like, you made me feel this way, you know, and forgetting the fact that, hey, you know, expressing your feelings however you want is not exactly going to move us closer to the goal all the time. So that is it. And not saying that's you, but it could be the environment this month. Also, you know, when it comes to the reputation, similar things, as I said before, can apply, where people may feel like you're a little bit moody. Also, you know, sometimes the Page of Cups reverse is like, yeah, this person's friendly, but they're a little quiet and they kind of keep to themselves. Upright, the Page of Cups, they're talking to people. You see that they have their cups stretched out. So when the Page of Cups is reversed, they're just like, I'm not offering anything to anyone. If you speak to me, I'm going to say hello. I'm going to be polite, but I'm not going to go out of my way to interact with people. It's a very much like, I want to do some more internal work. You know, I feel like that's the vibe that you might be having when it comes to that. And, you know, like I said, sometimes people may be getting mixed messages from you, or they may feel a little bit, they might think you're being very sensitive. On the other hand, you might come across as extremely authentic and different. Okay, so it can go either way. Pages and court cards generally have two like extremes. Well, the knights and the pages can usually have extremes. King and queens, not as much. So when we have the Seven of Wands reversed, wow, Seven of Wands reversed for love. My first thought when I see the Seven of Wands reversed for love is, if you're single, this is kind of like, I give up. Like, this is like, love is a battlefield and I am not trying to fight anymore, you know? Sometimes that happens with the Seven of Wands reversed. It's saying, camera cut off, but it's saying that essentially you have been putting in so much work and so much effort. And this may not even be recently. This could be just been the story of your life, right? Where it feels like you've been putting in so much work and so much effort, and it doesn't feel like it's quite amounting to the time and energy you have put into finding love. It reminds me of one of my favorite shows, Sex and the City, which, you know, there's good and bad to it, but we won't get into that. And one of my favorite characters, Charlotte, she has a scene where she's upset and she says, you know, I've been dating since I was like, I don't know, 13 or something like that. Where is he? Right? And that is that Seven of Wands energy. It's like, I am so frustrated. Like, I am looking to find that person, but I am not getting that out of all of these people that I'm encountering. And it just makes me exhausted. It makes me feel like I'm never going to find that person, or it's not worth the effort, and I'm just wasting my time and energy. And that can be the feeling of the Seven of Wands reversed if you're single. But to some degree, the Seven of Wands reversed if you're single can represent that you're deciding to no longer waste your energy. Like, maybe it's just more so of a sigh of defeat, of just like, I don't know if this is worth it, you know? I'd rather just stay by myself. I don't want to shift through, you know, online dating profiles. I don't want to have to make the efforts to go out there in the world or ask friends if they know anyone single and available. I don't want to do all of that. I just want to be at peace. And there is a sort of recognition with yourself when it comes to that. You know, maybe for the month of October, you're wrestling with yourself with that a little bit, because sometimes this can be internal frustrations where you're just like, yeah, but if I want to find someone, I got to put in the effort. And then the other part of you is like, but I don't know. I don't feel like I'm in the mood to do that. And, you know, it's kind of like a little bit of a back and forth, a battle with yourself to some degree. In another direction, like if you have had habits, you know how on the internet they have like this saying called pick me girls, and I don't know, the definition changes a lot, but from my understanding, it's someone who is kind of like fighting to be seen and chosen. They're kind of like putting down other women in order to posture themselves to men. When you have that Seven of Wands reversed, it's almost like I'm a reverse pick me. You know what I mean? Like if you have been doing your best to like, you know, impress men, or try to stand out. It doesn't have to be men, whoever you're into, women, men, whatever gender you're into. The Seven of Wands reverse is like, I'm no longer going to be making that effort. You know what I mean? The Seven of Wands reverse is like, I like a coffee date. Like I like the less effort. I'm too busy for anything else. I'm not getting dolled up. I'm not putting in that time. I'm not putting in that effort. I'm not putting in that energy. Let's keep it short and sweet and get to the point. Very low pressure vibes. Let's meet up for drinks. Let's meet up for a walk. You know, that Seven of Wands reverse can represent all of that energy. And if you don't relate to that and you're like, no, I am a luxury girly. I love a soft life. There's no way on this planet I'm going to accept anything other than the best. Then the Seven of Wands reverse can just represent that you're not going to argue with anyone when it comes to love about your desires, right? Because sometimes people will challenge you in what you want. Like let's say you want to date someone who makes six figures or something like that. And people are like, but what if the guy or girl, they make like 70,000? What if they make 80,000? You're like, I don't care. I'm not going to argue with you on this. Like, if they don't make this amount, I'm not going to date them. And that could be the Seven of Wands reversed as well. Like this feeling of being self-assured within yourself. Like, I'm not going to argue with you about my desires, my wants, my principles, my belief, my standards. So you could have this mindset when it comes to love. And the last thing I want to mention with the Seven of Wands reversed, especially if you're single, is this can represent that you're opening up more and you're dropping your defenses, right? Because the Seven of Wands reversed is a card where they're upright, they're battling, they're keeping people at arm's length, and they're saying, no, stay away. Seven of Wands reversed is like, I'm softening up a little bit, and I am relaxing more, and I'm not on my guard as much. So there is something along the lines of that when it comes to the Seven of Wands reverse. And sometimes Seven of Wands reverse can be in this position where they may not value what they have, and they're sort of like enviously looking at other people and saying, God, I wish I had that. And I guess it doesn't have to be like envy. It could just be like, you know, a feeling of, because I feel like envy is a feeling of like where you want to bring someone down. maybe a little bit of like jealousy of like, oh, I wish I had that. I don't know. I have to look up the definitions of each word to really get that comprehensive meaning of envy and jealousy. But it is a feeling of like wanting what someone else has, right? It's this feeling of like, oh man, I would kill for that. Like I would love a relationship like that. I would love a partnership like that. And that could be whether you're single or in a relationship, you know? And for those of you already in a relationship, similar things as to what I said before, where you're letting your guard down and you could be opening up more and you're like, let's compromise. I don't want to fight anymore. We've been going back and forth. Or maybe you aren't fighting. Maybe you're just like, let's just compromise a little bit more. And it can even feel as though that you guys are easing into, instead of proving each other right, you're more willing to hear each other out. And that can be the Seven of Wands reversed. And then, you know, sometimes Seven of Wands reversed, you know how the reversals can represent extremes sometimes? And so this may even feel as though you might even be pushing your partner further away from you. And it's like a total breakdown when it comes to the relationship or communication. And somebody completely withdraws, right? You know, instead of working out problems, somebody just kind of walks away. They don't try to work things out. They just say, you know what, I'm not going to listen to this. And they walk away. And that could be you, that could be them, that could be someone else. Or that may not be the case at all, but I have to throw out all the different meanings there because I'm sure this will resonate for someone. And it can also represent like backpacking off of that and avoidance of conflict. Because sometimes, like I said, it's like, oh, I'm going to withdraw, I'm going to shut down. And then other times, which is similar lines of that, is like, I'm going to avoid conflict altogether. You know, I'm going to sweep this under a rug. I'm not going to address it. We can talk about it for a little bit, but then we don't fully resolve things. And so it's a lot of unresolved tension, which can lead to a little bit of resentment, especially with the Seven of Wands reversed. But generally, my general interpretation of when I've seen the Seven of Wands reverse is feeling like, you know, something isn't worth the effort anymore. And maybe even for some of you, you may feel as though you're putting in more effort than you're getting out of your relationship. But, you know, it could be positive. Like I said, it could be leaning towards some challenges. It's going to depend on the person, but these are the general interpretations with the Seven of Wands reverse. And this can also apply to family and friends because this pile also represents your family and friends. And so when we see that you are more than likely maybe opening up to those friends more. Maybe like you guys are learning to compromise a little bit more. Or maybe you may even feel there's some unresolved issues when it comes to friends, you know, that can happen as well. Like you can feel as though you guys had a fight or a little bit of a tiff, you hurt each other's feelings, and you go about the relationship and reconnect, but then it's like, I don't know, like something, I just feel like we didn't address the elephant in the room here, you know? But that can happen, you know, it could be either or, but, and sometimes with these piles, I want to say, sometimes it's honing on one certain experience, you know? Like with finances and self-esteem, this could apply more to self-esteem than finances. With career, reputation, this could apply more to, you know, career or reputation. And then sometimes I've even found this card to represent more of the environment that you're in. So I want to say, since these cards represent different factors, it may not apply to all areas. You know, there have been times when I've pulled a card for myself for like, okay, I'm going to read this as the fifth house. I pull the three of swords. I'm reading as the fifth house and loved ones and, you know, things that I love to do. I pull the three of swords and it may apply to things that I love to do, but my relationships are solid, if you know what I mean. Like the things that I love to do, you know, I might not have time for them, but for friends and family, actually things went well. So I do want to say it could be going in either direction. But that's the general vibe. And I also want to say that when it comes for things that you love to do, that this can feel as though you are experiencing some frustrations when it comes to creativity and how you want to express yourself, because wands connect so heavily to creativity. And often I can get the wands reversed, just almost any wand reversed, to be creative blockages. And so you may even be feeling as though you are battling this uphill battle when it comes to your creative juices or outlets, and it's not, like I said, giving you what you are putting out. And you may even feel like you're starting to lose motivation for it. It's starting to feel more like work than a hobby or something that you love doing. Even things that are simplistic, like let's say you're watching a TV show and it's really good for the first 8 episodes. And then, the month of October comes along, you're watching episode 9, and it just loses its juice. It loses its momentum, You start getting to season 2 and you're like, I don't know. I don't think I'm feeling this show anymore. So anything along the lines of that would be like the 7 of Wands. It's just a matter of feeling a little bit of a loss of momentum. Or even just needing a break. Sometimes the 7 of Wands is just saying, hey, I've been fighting for so long. I've been running this marathon. Like, I need a break, man. Like, I need to stop and, drink some water and, sit and pause and catch my breath. And it just feels like that sometimes. And this can apply also if you have a business, because, businesses can be like your heart and soul and the things that you love pouring your time and energy into. On the positive flip side, this can say that when you have the 7 of Wands reversed, because upright, it's like all of these people coming to attack you. And when you have it reversed, it's either like you quiet out all the noise, or you manage to, you quiet out all the noise, or 2, you become your own critic, or 3, this can represent that you are managing to turn the hate into your favor, right? Like you switch it around somehow and you manage to turn your haters into supporters. That can happen as well. And this can apply to a lot of different areas in your life. You could be part of some sort of chess club, and maybe you have a lot. There's some people there, or one person in particular who is always saying some passive aggressive thing, or they're always super competitive. And it feels like this month, I don't know, the vibe has changed and you're no longer in this place where you guys are battling or facing each other or seeing each other as opponents, and you start seeing each other as teammates. And that can happen within the things that you love to do as this month as well. If you have any sort of group activities that you like doing as a hobby or in your free time or something along the lines of that. And I guess the last way you can see this as well is that you just say, hey, I'm doing my best, I'm putting less pressure on myself to be this super champion and keep up the pace and, whatever the case may be. If it comes, and I'm talking about things you love and you're trying to get better at in particular. Like if you have a hobby you're trying to up level and upskill on, then the 7 of Wands reverse can represent I'm releasing that pressure and I am deciding that I need more balance. So you see how it can go in a lot of different directions with the 7 of Wands reverse. But I wanted to give the full interpretation, but I need to move on, right? I wanted to make these shorter. So we have the 6 of Pentacles as the overall vibe for this month. I like to see the 6 of Pentacles because generally I get the 6 of Pentacles to represent, honestly, it comes up in my life mainly as solid advice. Like it's like somebody's offering you a helping hand and they're saying, hey, let me guide you. Let's pause. Let's think this through. And I think it fits the moon in Taurus so well. If you see it on the card, let's pull it up for you so you can actually see it. We have the moon in Taurus on the card. Hopefully that focused for you. And the moon is exalted in Taurus. So the moon is its most stable. And if you look at the moon is the planet that rules our emotions, but it can also connect to our thinking, right? Because ultimately our feelings influence our thoughts, or our thoughts influence our feelings, right? Vice versa, chicken and the egg situation. And so when we have this card, it represents that either you are being supported and guided and assisted when it comes to making good choices, or you yourself are keeping a level head as much as possible when it comes to how you decide to move this month and what the things that you start to do. You know, additionally, if we're just talking to material things, the Six of Pentacles can represent a handout, can represent an offering, can represent, hey, here's a small bonus. Here's a ride. Do you need a ride? I'm giving you a ride. You found $20 on the ground. Here's an extra $20, you know. You know, the Six of Pentacles can represent a job offering. I've seen it for that as well. As I mentioned, mentor, colleague, someone giving you advice, coming together to have support. Your friend saying, hey, no, I'll pay for your lunch. I'll pay for your coffee. You know, it's representative of having a lot of balance in your life. You know, I'll help you out with this thing, this chore. I'll run and get this for you. Do you need assistance with that? It's a lot of give and take, and it's a lot of equality here. And I love that it's next to the Seven of Wands, because to me that indicates that there's less tension, there's more compromise, there's more working together when it comes to this month. It feels as if things are more harmonious and things are more balanced. There's just more give and take. There's more community. There's more support. And you yourself could be supporting others as well. Like I said, this is a give and take card. So it may feel as like you're giving somebody something, they're giving you something back. It feels like a month of generosity. And you might even feel that people are being kinder to you this month. Maybe not at work, but in other aspects of your life, people may be kinder to you this month. There's more fairness and balance overall in your interactions with others, or just in your life in general. Maybe for some of you, there's a few challenge areas, but with the Six of Pentacles ruling your month, to me, that represents more harmony overall. At least that's how I see it. I see the Six of Pentacles as saying, hey, I have enough resources to sustain myself. I can offer other people things. I have enough knowledge to do certain things. I know how to gain that knowledge if I don't have it. I have a good community and backing around me. And I'm looking out for other people as well as I'm looking out for myself. So I really do see that this month. And then, as I said, I do feel like there is this burst of creativity. We do have the Taurus card, Taurus coming up twice. And so that theme surrounding Taurus, when it comes to things you consume, when it comes to generally your skincare regarding your face, or just your face in general, this second house connects to. And because it's positive, it can represent, you know, taking care of your skin, you know, maybe, like I said, a skincare routine, going to the dentist, you know, straightening your tongue. I don't know, taking extra care of your face, getting new glasses, anything that has to do with your face, right? A facial, maybe you get a little facial this month, face massage. You know, these are all of the things that Taurus can rule. It connects to money, obviously, resources, particularly your money, your resources, your gains, your efforts. That's happening here as well. That's very strongly influenced. And to me, it shows an uplifting in that area. Okay, so I do want you to know that. And also, It just generally feels like you get what you paid for, you know, for the most part. Things are turning out to be like an even trade, you know? So I do see that. And then also trying to think with Taurus. Taurus can connect a lot to what you value and your self-esteem. And so it can give you a different perspective when it comes to certain things that you are recognizing to be important this month, or just a general shift in mindset. I want to say that just because I'm thinking about, from what I've seen for second house transits, it's about using your voice and coming from a place of challenging maybe even your own beliefs to some regards, depending on the transit. Saturn transit in particular will make you challenge your beliefs, and allow you to make different decisions. But overall, I have seen that very strongly when it comes to that. And generally, you're doing well financially. Now, the Sun card here. The Sun is interesting. There are some overlaps with astrology and the Sun card in tarot. The Sun card in astrology is known as like half malefic, half benefit. And in tarot, it's generally mainly positive. Granted, it can connect to like anger or frustration or ego, right? And it's the same thing within astrology. And so for the month, from what I see when it comes to Sun energy, it is very focused on independence and doing it yourself and being this self-made person. And like I said, that Pentacle energy is the strongest, and it's really aligning with the Nine of Pentacles. It can also represent a time where things feel a little bit lighter. And I think you yourself are shining bright. I will say this, the Page of Cups, because this is your reputation and how you're being seen, they're generally seen as someone who is attractive, but they may look like they're a mean girl. You know, some people, that's just their look, right? They, on the internet, they call it resting bee face, right? Like that. Page of Cups can sort of be like that. And I guess the connection I was trying to make, I lost track of my thought. But I guess I'm trying to say that you'll look good to people this month, but almost in a way that it may come across as intimidating or a little bit untouchable, or sometimes it's almost like I'm a little bit more relaxed and unpolished, or like bedhead, or like, you know, I am this cool, maybe not cool girl energy, but like I'm just this laid back energy. Like I'm just like this no effort, like an Adam Sandler's movie and how he pictures women. Like, you know, I eat tons and tons of pizza all day, but I'm stick thin, and, you know, I'm just cool like that. And I don't really care about, you know, spending hours on makeup. I'm just like naturally whatever, gorgeous without any effort. That can be that Page of Cups reverse type of vibe as well. Okay? So that's what I wanted to say when it comes to how you might be coming across. Like, I'm a little bit quirky or messy, but I'm just very pretty or handsome. So I do want to say that. But generally when I have the Sun card and things come up regarding the Sun, it's a mix. It really is that half benefit, half malefic, where you have a lot of accomplishments, you have a lot of success, you have a lot of joy, but then you have some people who get on your nerves this month and who really test your patience. It's that combination of energy, but it does come with recognition. It does come with succeeding and accomplishing your goals. It comes with a lot of respect, and people are looking up to you and saying like, wow, you really did that. You put in that work, and congratulations to you. Like, this is very much like I'm a boss type of energy. I'm a leader. I am my own person. I make my own decisions. I'm somebody who thinks for myself. Like, I am very, very, I guess the word is like, I am true to myself. That is one thing that I've seen with the Sun card energy. So this month, you are honoring who you are. Anyway, this went a little bit longer than I intended it to go. Don't be surprised if there's some ego battles this month. But also, like I said, the Sun card does rule generally like having a lot of like romantic attention, but because we have this Seven of Wands reverse and this Page of Cups reverse, I don't think it's you being approached at all. I'm trying to this is very hidden admirer's energy, right? Page of Cups is like reverse, is like I have a crush on someone, but I'm too scared to act, right? And so this is why I feel like, especially with the Sun card energy, it's like this person is like very attractive. I don't know if I want to approach them. So I feel like with the love life, maybe you notice some people looking at you, but you're like, because the Sun card is one of those cards that's very much attuned to the environment around them. They really pay attention. Especially when Sun ruled individuals, a lot of them, when I was studying like spies and stuff, I think the most popular spies were like Sun ruled and Moon ruled. So they really pay attention. They can be very like observant. And so I really feel, especially with this Mercury energy here, very observant energy, that you are being observant of the people around you this much. You're really paying attention. You're really making sure to celebrate yourself, and you have a strong clarity about your direction and where you want to go in. And both of these cards connect to a new start and new beginning and shedding your skin. So that is what I have. This was very long. I didn't mean for all that. I don't know if the other piles will be as long, but we'll see. And I hope to see you next time. Don't forget, if you want a private reading by me, link can be found in the description bar below. I go live on the weekend, so if you want to pop in and ask a question, or if you want to come in and see what's going to be happening next week with the weekly collective or any astrological insights, that will be there. Don't forget to follow me on social media. I vlog. If you want to see what cool things I'm doing in my life, it will be there. I try to post as much as I can. And that is all I have for you. Au revoir. Hey pal, number 4, let's get started on your October 2025. We have Temperance reversed. We have the 8 of Swords for finances. We have the 4 of Pentacles, but this would be reversed for career. We have the Knight of Swords, also reversed. I'm trying to flip this card, guys. We have the Knight of Wands for just an overall feel, and we have the 12th house in terms of just an overall feel for the cards as well, just to clarify things, because it's always good to have more information. We also are gonna roll the dice. We have Saturn in the 11th house in the sign of Sagittarius. So Saturn in the 11th house in the sign of Sagittarius. Well, in general, when we have this Saturn and Sagittarius type of vibe to it, Saturn's always trying to bring structure and discipline into certain areas. And when it's in the sign of Sagittarius, this is all about sort of like structuring your vision of what you have in mind for your future, or even just structuring your motivations. Like, what is motivating you to get up and go in the morning? Sometimes this can represent, in a way, a little bit of, I don't know if I want to use the word oppression, but restriction when it comes to authority figures. Like, you may feel as though those like who are bosses, mentors, just generally people who are there to supposed to guide you, can be a little bit how do I use the word for it? I don't want to say something that's going to be totally uncomfortable for you guys, but they can just be very particular about their demands and how they want things to be met. So you may even get that vibe this month where it feels as though they have a certain way that they want things to be done, and that they can be very much like burdensome in a way. On a positive note, as I said, it brings about more structure and understanding on how you want to implement your future and your goals in your life. And it provides you a new sense of direction. It can also bring about more understanding in who you are, right? Especially in the sign of Sagittarius. This can also feel as though that there's this feeling where you want to travel, and you might even be thinking about making some moves or finalizing plans when it comes to travel, as Saturn wants to bring about structure and discipline and say, hey, come up with a plan. If you want to go to Mexico, like, let's see what the flights cost, let's see what these hotels cost, and let's start booking things, right? And so there can be an element of that. Now in the 11th house, this energy kind of focuses on feeling a little bit of a lack of support, I've noticed, for some people. It's weird because it can go both ways, where it can cleanse people out of your life who aren't supporting you. And at the same time, you know, in order to cleanse them out of your life for not supporting you, they have to kind of show that they've been a little bit inconsistent, or they haven't been providing that sense of love and care, right? I know we don't think about Saturn as love and care, but it is, you know, it's there to say, hey, I don't think this is good for you, you know? And you have a lot of Sagittarius vibes, especially we have the Mars in Sagittarius for the Knight of Wands, and we have Temperance connecting to Sagittarius. So there are a lot of themes when it comes to education, when it comes to legal matters. If you are thinking about getting married for the second time, I don't know how many of my viewers are on a second marriage, or thinking about a second marriage, but it's possible. So throw that out there. It's also a house of just general luck and feeling lucky. So, you know, with Saturn and Sagittarius, sometimes you can feel a little bit less lucky. So this month, you might have that feeling within you. It doesn't necessarily mean that is the reality, but it may be how you feel a little bit. And then also, as I was going with the Saturn in the 11th house, it can be good about making some dreams come true, but it will come with some hard work and effort. It's not easy, okay? Saturn is never easy, or almost never easy. I can't say never, but it's definitely something that is going to sort of show you how much it takes to get to your goals, okay? I remember having Saturn in the 11th house, and that was a time where I was trying to go abroad, and it was a lot of different obstacles that came to play when it came to that. It was very confusing and stressful process, but eventually it did happen, right? So that dream came true. So it can feel like that this month when it comes to getting the things that you have wanted for a while. You're like, oh, this is kind of a little bit frustrating, but it can happen. And so that's why I like to see Saturn in the 11th house. Saturn does natally rule the 11th house as it rules Aquarius. And so it's not a house that it experiences discomfort in, and Saturn is definitely not debilitated in Sagittarius. So you might find that you're feeling more inspired to make some changes when it comes to how you go about achieving those goals. And then also the 11th house can connect to income and gains, especially when it comes to like your work, or even if you have like a side business, a side hustle, whatever the case may be. It's like the gains that are coming into you. Sometimes this can restrict gains, and then also at the same time, this can cause you to reevaluate those gains and say, I don't know, is this even really worth it? Like, am I getting in what I'm putting out? And with this Four of Pentacles reverse, I don't know. I feel like you're like, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I need to take a risk and make some changes and move forward in a different direction. And I feel like that's something that you will be considering this month. Now, Temperance reversed. So when we have Temperance reversed, we all know that Temperance is about balance. It's about finding a sense of harmony, having things come together, and, having things come together in a way that is not necessarily perfect, but it's a good blending of things. Like today, I got like a matcha pumpkin spice latte. That's a blending together of two different flavors, right? It's not like they're a perfect mixture. It's one thing that is combined with another to create something different, right? And so to me, it feels as if maybe you're feeling like in your life, things aren't necessarily blending as smoothly. It may feel like certain elements are in competition with each other. You know, I feel like when we see this, it could be like a clash of schedules, or maybe it feels as if though you are in your personal life, you feel like it's difficult to balance work and play. You know, maybe you work a lot and you have like a health goal in mind, but you also have a career goal, right? So you're working very long hours, or you're putting in your time and your energy, but then you come home and you're very tired and you don't feel as motivated to like work out or eat healthy. And so it's like these two goals are in collaboration, in conflict is what I'm trying to say, instead of being in collaboration with each other. And so it can feel like certain areas of your life are a bit unbalanced in that way. And then same thing when it comes to, you know, feeling as if you might be in an environment where people have different belief systems than you. Like the way that they do things is not the way that you do things. And so you may be entering the month with this type of feel or these experiences in mind. So sometimes that can happen because I get the Temperance card to connect with our belief systems, right? Because it connects to Sagittarius. And so it may feel like, oh man, I feel like I am surrounded by people who think this way versus I believe that things should be done this way, okay? And there can be that. And then lastly, when it comes to Temperance reverse, sometimes because it has this connection to economy, especially within its traditional meaning, it can represent feeling a little bit unbalanced when it comes to a sense of security, whether that's financial, whether that's job security. Something can feel as if there is just a lack of moderation there, whether that is spending too much or having to feel as if you are going from paycheck to paycheck and it's like, you know, you're just cutting it. That can feel a little bit like that. Like you don't have room to save or invest or even buy certain things that you want. So you might be coming into the month with a little bit of that type of feel to it. And you're looking to make some changes in those areas. You're reflecting back and you're saying, or reflecting currently, and you're saying that, hey, I don't want to live in this space of disbalance. I want to realign things that are misaligned in my life. And I want to be able to just have more balance, have more change, so things aren't as disaligned and I can move forward with more balance. And you may have this mindset. Now let's move on before I talk too much. We have the 8 of Swords when it comes to finances. So the 8 of Swords when it comes to finances, this card is very much like you feel a little bit restricted and trapped by your finances, which is kind of what I was saying a little bit with that Temperance card there, where you feel as though you feel as though you are limited when it comes to how you can spend or how you can save or how much you can save or how much you can invest. It just feels a bit like, okay, there's some debt. I can feel trapped by debt. It can feel as though you don't have any options in terms of getting promotions. Maybe, you know, your work isn't truly valuing you and they're not giving you any raises. And you're like, oh, I feel a little bit stuck here because I've been searching for jobs and no one seems to want to pay me what I believe that I am worth. And that can be very restricting. It can feel as though there are some money blocks coming in, that you may need to renegotiate certain bills, consolidate any sort of debt, cut any unnecessary expenses. The 8 of Swords is very much like, how can I get out of this? I don't feel like I can buy certain things. I feel like I can't buy a new winter coat because that'll be too expensive, and then I won't be able to pay this certain electric bill, you know, if I go in that direction. So it can feel a little bit like, oh, I never have enough, you know. And the thing about the 8 of Swords though is it's all mental. And I'm not saying that there's not the truth to your situation, but what I'm saying is that there's always a way out when we have this Eight of Swords. You just may not see it currently, or maybe this month you might even be thinking about how you can get out of this state of mind. Because at the end of the day, the Eight of Swords become about reflection, and eights have to do with our thinking. And when we have this Eight of Swords, it's like we're trapped by our own thinking. And so you may even feel like I need to change my thinking. I need to figure out a way that I can feel like I have enough, that I can feel like I am no longer stuck in a certain place. And also with that Eight of Swords, it's actually funny because it just makes me think of like when you go to your bank account or look at your bank statements, you're just like, I don't even want to look at it, to be completely honest. Like I just want to avoid it. I want to turn a blind eye to it. Please, it hurts me to see how much money I have in my account. Like that is that vibe of the Eight of Swords, and it can feel that way this month. But do your best not to avoid making changes or feeling trapped. Try to come up with a plan, because this Eight of Swords is actually really good because it does show that there is a way out of this, and there can be a financial release, and there are options available to you. So keep that in mind. There may be a certain area that you're overlooking or you may not know too much about. The Eight of Swords is all about using your mind to empower yourself. And so I feel as though this month you may even want to do some research in that area about how you can make sure that you're making practical choices that benefit you and that can release you from this feeling of feeling trapped by finances, okay? Also, when it comes to self-esteem, you know, the Eight of Swords is a little bit scared to be criticized or judged in a way. And sometimes it can feel like this month may be a little bit more of self-doubt, but it doesn't mean that this whole month you start feeling self-doubt. The Eight of Swords can also represent that, you know, you're deciding to get out of this feeling of self-doubt and start moving to a place of owning your choices and strengths, and not waiting for someone to like come around and save you or give you advice or guide you in a new direction, especially since we have this Temperance reverse card as to where you are. This can also represent a lack of guidance, like someone's not there. Remember how I said Saturn is a restrictive planet, and in a sign of Sagittarius, as I mentioned, it's like mentors, guiders, teachers, supervisors. It can restrict that sense of guidance. And so it's like you have to rely on yourself, and it may feel this way this month, right? And also this can feel as though when it comes to the Eight of Swords, you might be measuring yourself against others instead of looking and valuing your own strengths. But be sure to recognize who you are and what you bring to the table, because you do bring a lot. You just may not be giving yourself enough credit as you should be this month. So I feel like this is a month of actually addressing any feelings of negative voices in your head or self-doubt, or rewriting that narrative. When we have the Four of Pentacles reversed, this is why I was emphasizing rewriting that narrative, because to me, it feels like you don't stay in this place of self-doubt or hesitation or doubting yourself. This Four of Pentacles reverse shows that you are actually taking risks, especially when it comes to the area of career. It feels to me like you are no longer saying, hey, I'm doing this job hugging thing. And you know, job hugging is when you stay at a job even though you can't stand it, because of the instability in the job market, which is fair. You know, a lot of people do it. It's not a judgment. And it feels as though like, oh my gosh, I've got to stay here because I need the security and I need the money. And that's a real concern and a real fear. But with this Four of Pentacles reversed, to me, it feels as like when it comes to work, when it comes to career, when it comes to your reputation in general this month, you're taking more chances. And you are going in a new direction, and you're releasing this control over, I'm scared of what people will think of me, or I'm scared what's going to happen next. It feels as though that it feels as though like you're ready to step outside of your box, even if this has to do with switching careers totally. You know, the Four of Pentacles is reverse, is like, I am ready to move in that new direction. I'm letting go of staying stuck in a role just because it feels safe, and I want to explore different options. Now, whether that's a complete career change or just a job change or even a role change, moving to transferring to a different department, whatever the case may be, you're actually deciding to move on and explore different areas that may be potentially more fulfilling for you. You know, another thing that this could be is if you're in an environment where people tend to restrict information and decisions aren't visible, it could be possible that the job environment is opening up a little bit more and being a little bit more transparent, or you are just in general more informed of some information and changes that are going around you. Sometimes I see this Four of Pentacles when it's upright, it's like people are guarding their role for dear life. Like, you know how some people, they get so scared that they're going to be replaced, so they guard their role, they don't share information, they don't try to grow and help team members. The Four of Pentacles reverse can show that there may be certain people around you who are actually wanting to provide help. Don't believe that I don't know if that's going to be authority figures just because of that Saturn and Sagittarius and that Temperance reverse, but there may be some colleagues or, you know, clientele or even people within your network who are sharing more information with you. So you're breaking free of this feeling of holding on to what you have. You're making steps towards growth, taking on new responsibilities, maybe even, you know, applying for new jobs. Okay. I do want to say that. Worst case scenario with the Four of Pentacles reverse is it can feel like the work environment is unstructured, right? Because when we have the Four of Pentacles upright, it's not always bad. I get the Four of Pentacles a lot of times when somebody's just protecting their peace. They're like, I do not want to be involved in any drama. Please keep that over there, right? Like I've been there, done that. And so when it's reversed, it's like, okay, there's no protection of peace here. Things are a little bit disorganized. There's missing deadlines. There's people not standing up and holding true to their responsibilities. There's a lack of stability or innovation in a way. So I do want to say that the structure can be very lax, and that in turn can represent just a blending of different roles, which can cause a little bit of confusion. Okay, so that is like one thing that's to keep in mind. Maybe for some of you, I want to give various interpretations because I know everyone's going to have different experience when it comes to this Four of Pentacles reverse. But ultimately, I feel like this is letting go of fears when it comes to your work, when it comes to your career, even if it's not even like a job you have. Sometimes this Four of Pentacles reverse can represent your own personal goals or interests that you have in mind. For example, you know, obviously I have my this tarot and astrology channel, Astro-Tarot research, and you know, for me, this might be talking about how my channel might be this month, which might be like, oh, I'm going to make some changes, like if I chose this pile. So though this is not my full-time job, you know, it would connect to that because it'd be part of my goals and something I like to do and something I, you know, inspire to grow. So just keep that in mind. It may not just be specifically your job or something like that. Sometimes it can represent to just your own goals outside of work. So there is that. And obviously, like I said, your reputation is like you're breaking out of your shell. If you've been someone who's a little bit more quiet, then you might find yourself being a little bit more social this month and getting out of your normal box that you may be in when it comes to people that you talk to or interact with. When it comes to the Knight of Swords reverse for love, that's actually interesting because, you know, the Knight of Swords, whether he's upright or whether he's reversed, all knights are like this. They're always a little bit unbalanced, right? So I really feel as though this can even feel like for some of you who are single, you might be making some quick snap judgments when it comes to the people that you might be dating. And that's if you're actively dating. I want to preface that by saying that. If you're actively dating, this could represent, oh, I'm jumping into some commitments without thinking things through. Or, you know, I'm making snap judgments about people based upon like other people I've met in the past, and to some degree that it can be discernment, but on another degree that could be prejudgment, right? You know, sometimes there is a thin line between the two where you're like, okay, this person a little bit reminds me of this person I met, you know, XYZ years ago, and I don't think I want to continue making conversation with them, and you cut it off very quickly. On the other hand, this can represent maybe how other people are treating you, because remember the Knight of Swords reversed, he can be a little bit fickle. You know, he can be someone who ghosts people, or communication is lacking. Instead of being very mature about saying, hey, I'm not interested, they just go ghost. And so that Knight of Swords energy can be representative of that. Also, it can represent a little mixed signals when it comes to the area of love, and that could be whether you're single or in a relationship. It just feels like you're not sure what exactly is being communicated here. Like maybe the text come across harsher than they expected. Maybe there's some breadcrumbing. Maybe one day this person seems interested, maybe one day they don't. But whatever the case may be, the communication does seem to need a little bit more refinement in the area of love, whether you're in a relationship or outside of a relationship. And then sometimes it can feel as though one person is dominating the conversation. The relationship becomes all about them, and they're not asking questions. They're not being engaged with the other person. There could be a sense of immaturity or a lack of follow through, right? With the Knight of Swords reversed. You know, and then also on the positive side with the Knight of Swords reversed, this is time to go inward, right? Where you're doing some reflection and saying, okay, what's working for me and not working for me within a relationship or within a love environment if you are single. And then if you're just like super single, meaning like you're not talking to anyone, you're not engaged in dating, you know, this can just represent that you're spending some time actually reflecting back on your decisions or your interactions when it comes to love. You're trying to take an objective viewpoint and not just look at those relationships and how they play out, but how they might have affected you and what you can learn from those relationships, especially with the Knight of Swords, because they're all knights are learning. And so this can be a month of learning. At the same time, as I said, the Knight of Swords can just generally represent imbalance, whether it's, you know, doing too much or doing too little. Sometimes the Knight of Swords reverse can represent a little bit of hesitation, right? Can represent that, hey, you know, I think I might be ready for love, but I'm not sure I want to make that move yet. Or there's somebody I'm interested in, but I don't really want to let them know. Like I kind of want to observe a little bit from afar, and you know, I have some doubts on whether we'll click or if they'll be interested. And you know, there can be some of that, or somebody could be feeling that way towards you as well. If you're in a relationship and you have a partner, there could be some things that they are hesitating to have conversations about, or they are avoiding certain conversations. Sometimes the Knight of Swords reverse can be a little argumentative as well and defensive when it comes to their communication, but it can be a lot when it comes to that area. The same can apply towards friendships. It feels as though like maybe your friends are very busy this month. Hopefully you're not beefing with your friends, but obviously the Knight of Swords reverse can represent that as well. Sometimes this can just represent that when it comes to friends, there's a lot of last minute plans, because the Knight of Swords, as we mentioned, can be very impulsive. And so it's just like they're texting you like a day before something happens, or even day of, and they're like, hey, do you want to come to this event, this party, da da da, like, right? And you're like, oh man, that's way too last minute, okay, guys. Or it just feels like we're scrambling to get things together. Like we say we want to go to this place, but we haven't picked a time. We don't know who's coming. We don't know the full plans yet. It's just very much like, oh, planning's not that great this month when it comes to things. If you are, you know, maybe you are in a little bit of a toxic friend group, and I, you know, knock on marble, I hope you're not. It feels as though that this person, you might have somebody in your friend group can be a little competitive. I can get that for the Knight of Swords and especially the Knight of Wands. These conversations, these cards can be a little bit competitive, trying to one up somebody making the conversation all about them, somebody not having a follow through, sometimes, you know, people do this, right? Where they make plans, but then they cancel last minute and they're just like, oh, I don't really want to go out. I'm not feeling the vibe. Like, you know, that happens sometimes. They just don't want to do it. And so that can be a little bit of that, or people just like show up late and you're like, come on, guys, stop. Like, let's get it together. All right. And there can be some of that. Now, when it comes to the things that you love doing, well, similar vibes. It just may feel like the things that you love doing, it can be a little bit delayed this month, and that can be due to certain responsibilities, sort of like maybe getting in the way of that. Ooh, almost knocked that away. But it can represent that, you know, you might rush into a new hobby. It can represent that you don't have time like you want to do certain activities. Sometimes the Knight of Swords reverse can represent I'm interested in something, and then that interest fades really quickly. This can also sort of just feel like if you are like in a creative area where you might do a lot of writing or communicating, that you feel a little bit uninspired, or that sense of writer's block or creative block in that area, right? You're like, I don't have quite a lot of words for this. If you're writing a book, if you're writing articles, if you are posting on social media, it just may feel like, oh, I'm doing the same thing. Something about this just is not too inspiring for me. And you're looking for more mental stimulation, you know, that can be the case. And then sometimes we get this Knight of Swords to represent doom scrolling when it's reversed. Now, this overall month, when we get the feel of it, we have this Knight of Wands reverse. The Knight of Wands upright. So Knight of Wands upright, I love this card, very much an initiator, someone who is like, hey, I'm here to facilitate activities, get things going, get the ball rolling. I don't want to sit in place. You know, I feel as though this Knight of Wands card is somebody who does have a little creative spark. And that really does go to what I was saying earlier, where in the month, it may feel as though there's a little bit of self-doubt, and then you get to this place where you feel like making chances or taking chances, and the confidence starts to grow again. This is why I feel like for the month of October, you're not staying in this place of self-doubt. Now, don't get me wrong. There may still be this feeling of like starting something and stopping something. I feel as though that this is you kind of saying, all right, I've got to be bold. I've got to take action. I've got to get some momentum going. And so in a way, it's starting to feel as though you are trying to take charge of your life again, you know, or maybe not again, but maybe you felt a little bit like unmotivated, but now this month is getting you into the place where you're now feeling more motivation, especially as the month draws on. Does it also represent, like I said, that newfound confidence, wanting to be fearless and be bold and saying, hey, I only live once. I'm going to do what I need to do. There's a sense of adventure and learning and wanting to travel and go into unknown territories. I mean, on this card, we have Mars and Sagittarius, and Mars and Sagittarius is definitely a placement that is going to represent, I'm putting in my efforts to either literally go travel, to meet people, to have new experiences, to find a sense of inspiration, to ensure that I'm standing up for myself against any sort of authority figures, in a way like that sort of can be going on. I am feeling a sense of energy and renewal, and I want to show the world what I can do. So it feels like this month you're charging ahead with some new energy, okay? You know, I remember getting the Knight of Wands a couple of times, and to me, it shows that you're feeling like reinvigorated. Like there's a sense of wanting to expand and grow, wanting to move in a new direction. So that's why I feel like you're not staying in this place of stagnation or self-doubt. You're like, okay, I've got to get out of this. I got to get out of this funk, and I'm ready to just grow. I'm ready to go to that next stage. I'm ready for that new adventure. I'm ready for that next chapter. You have this state of mind within you. And I do want to say we have the 12th house here as well. And I often get the 12th house. I don't know. It often comes to me, 12th house and Pisces, to represent a little bit of a break. And that maybe that's what it is. Maybe you take a moment to like recharge and then jump back into action, because sometimes we need that. Sometimes life can get overwhelming. Things feel unbalanced. Things feel like you're being dragged in multiple directions, and you just need a moment to just pause and say, all right, let me just breathe. And then I'm going to leap forward. And I feel like maybe that's a little bit of your energy this month. This can also represent, you know, obviously, you know, the 12th house can connect to these feelings of like hospitalization or medical appointments. So you could be going to the doctor, dentist, whatever the case may be this month. This can also represent as well, I think I already mentioned vacation, taking time off, maybe sick, you know, being a little sick, or just you need to work on some mental health. You need a moment to have a mental health day, a personal day. Also, this can represent just feeling a sense of wanting to tackle areas that may have felt neglected. You know, sometimes we dive deeper into our subconscious when it comes to that 12th house energy. We have these realizations about us in our own lives, and the 12th house definitely connects to that hidden layer, the emotions we don't necessarily talk about. It's all about like, okay, let me identify this emotion. Okay, where's this coming from? How does it connect to childhood or past experiences? And then, you know, what can I learn from this? How can I move differently? Or maybe I just need to sit with those emotions. It's really much a deep dive and a lot of different reflection when it comes to this month. And so I feel like you're in a headspace to bring about more clarity into yourself, okay? I just want you to keep that in mind when it comes to those vibrations. And then also you could be just connecting more spiritually this month. There could be some spiritual healing going on, or even some research into spiritual matters, whether that be astrology, tarot, runes, occult, magic, whatever the case may be. Your mind might be more so like, I'm trying to go to these otherworldly places, and I find my imagination in expanding. Sometimes though, I just get the 12th house to represent like I'm going to the movies more this month. Not lying, like sometimes, because 12th house is like imagination and big things and like dreams come true. So it's like movies, plays, entertainment, and things on lines of that, like things that are like fantastical. So that could pique your interest this month. Sometimes the cards are very much like, I'm going to be very literal and mundane with this, and you may not be having this spiritual experience, and it's just saying you're going to the movies with your friends a lot. And so I just want to throw that out there. But this is a month of some rest. I've noticed the 12th house, a lot of resting goes on there, a lot of feeling like you're in a state of pause or limbo, which makes sense when we have this, hey, you want to move on, you have this fire inside, but you know, maybe life is slowing you down and you're not getting all of the opportunities to move forward in the way that you want to do. And then sometimes it's like I'm using my hobbies as a sense of escapism, which can be happening here as well. Sometimes it can represent some inner struggles as well. But like I said, it's just representing that you need to go inward, or you will be going inward this month. So that is what I have for you, pal number 4. Hopefully this resonates. You know, if not, you know, feel free to choose a new pal. Feel free to book a reading with me. That is available as always. If you want to join the live sessions, hear some astrological insights, get a weekly forecast of the week ahead and what's going to be happening for you in your life, feel free to join those lives. The time is announced by Tuesday night. And also, if you want to subscribe, I certainly wouldn't mind it. You know, I'd love for you to become an astronaut. And I think that is all I have for now. And I will see you next time. Don't forget to follow me on any social medias, and au revoir. Hey, pal number 5. Let's get started on your October 2025. We have the sun for where you currently are. We have the Ace of Swords for finances, the Wheel of Fortune for career, the Lovers for love, and we have the Four of Wands reversed as an overall vibe, and we have the first house, the way you project yourself. Okay. We also have our Astro dice, so let's get into those. Oop, see if I can grip them. Okay. We have Mercury in the third house in Libra. So Mercury in the third house in Libra is a transit we all experience, you know, third house transit anyway. We all experience once a year. So it's not a really major transit or a major energy. I have found, you know, with Mercury in the third house, this is just about speeding up communications. Sometimes though, this can be a lot more dating. I did a children study of like 4 or more children and things along the lines of that. And Mercury in the third house, people tended to have the most amount of children, probably because they're forming a lot of relationships and connections with people. And so it can feel like this month you are forming a lot of different relationships, a lot of different connections. You're talking to more people, you're having more experiences, social outings, events, things along the lines of that, trips, you know, because the Mercury is in its own house when it's in the third house. And third house connects to small trips, okay? So when you have this combination of Mercury being conversation, small trips, forming relationships, Libra, another relationship connection, having to do one-on-one partnerships, strong communication here, it feels as if you are working on those bonds, okay? If that makes sense. Like, it feels to me like this month feels like a month of having mental clarity, making solid choices, connecting to whether that's friends, families, lovers, siblings. Sometimes this is refining your speech. If you are making a presentation, you might be doing that this month or more than once this month. You might going on some sort of trip somewhere, probably a short trip. I know sometimes we say short trips are just like short distance travels, but sometimes it can be a short trip out of the country. I found with the third house as well. So there's that aspect to it. A lot of writing, a lot of upskilling, whatever skill set you have, Mercury's going to come here, especially if it's in the house of Libra or in the sign of Libra, and ask you to refine it. And not only that, but to some of you, bring it out into the public. And you can find that being part of your story this month, your storyline. And then also when we have this combination, Mercury would be in a placement that is 8th from the 8th house, which is the third house. And so this can bring about some surprises when it comes to news, information, and, you know, things along the lines of that. You're like, oh, I've learned something new. I didn't know that. Here's some new gossip. Here's some revelations, or here's a new idea, especially since we have this Ace of Swords here supporting that. And we also have that Lovers supporting the communications and strong bonds with people, right? But overall, you'll feel pretty sharp-minded this month. This doesn't represent mental fog. If anything, it's the opposite of that. A lot of clarity when it comes to what you want to do or how you want to do it, or even just an expansion of trying new things and being brave and putting yourself out there. That is what this combination can do. Now, Sun to represent where you are. This is why I love talking to you astronauts, because remember on my poll I asked, which card do you feel resonates the most with, you know, I think I said bliss and happiness or something along the lines of that. And you guys chose the Sun out of the 4 options that I gave you. So what this tells me is you might even be coming from a place where you've experienced some happiness, some sort of fulfillment, some sort of accomplishment. Now, for me in my own personal life, I generally get the Sun to represent feeling a sense of you got through something and you came out on the other side and you are stronger than ever. It's more of a sense of accomplishment from what I have experienced. But this can also represent that happiness, that freedom, that feeling like you've gotten the things that you've wanted. There's a light shining on you. You're entering this month with a sense of optimism, okay? It feels like you have so much ahead of you. The future is bright. You may have achieved some recent success or a moment of clarity. Once again, we got this theme of clarity coming in. And you're growing. You feel as though you are growing, a strong sense of confidence as you move through this month here. You know, I really do see that. It just feels as if you are feeling more independent. You're feeling stronger. You are someone who is in a place with your life where you believe that there is more good things to come. All right. That is what I want to say about this sun general energy. I will say though, on the flip side, because I have seen the sun to represent like frustration and ego battles, you could be coming from that place as well. So keep that in mind. Sometimes the sun's energy is just like you've been beefing with some people lately, but you're standing strong. You're standing strong. You're in it. Now, when it comes to your finances, we have the Ace of Swords representing finances. To me, this shows that you are taking a new method when it comes to managing your finances. I think when I see the Ace of Swords here, this is a lot of structuring or creating a budget or having some new ideas about how you would like to spend your money. This is also about cutting away things that just aren't beneficial. Like, oh my gosh, I've been spending like $200 on coffee per month. That's outrageous. Let me, eliminate that. Okay, so I do want to say that it can be a breakthrough in ideas when it comes to how you're managing your money or how you can better change your financial situation, some clarity around money issues or some solutions. For example, maybe you're looking into debt consolidation and how to get out of debt or something like that if you're in debt. Or you're looking at, what's the best way to invest? Do I want to do stocks? Do I want to do bonds? Do I want a 401k? Do I want a Roth IRA? The Ace of Swords can be about doing that research. Another thing that this can relate to is because Ace of Swords connects to communication overall is this: you could be signing a contract that could possibly bring in some more money and opportunities for you. This is a decisive action to change your financial arrangement, okay? And then for some of you, it could be quite literal, where you just find yourself talking more about your finances this month or even more learning more about it. And then I do want to say this can also represent starting a business, because we do also have this Mercury in the third house in Libra, whether you're starting a business. I only say starting because we have this Ace of Swords. So you're like, I want to start a business. I want to start a different side gig. I want to start some sort of revenue that is a new avenue for me to make money. Okay, so I've got this side hustle in mind. I've got this insight. I've got this plan in my head that I want to do something about, okay? Or you might say, I'm just going to create a new savings account that is strictly for saving for a vacation, or saving for a new car, or saving for a repair on, I don't know, a couch, whatever. You just start a new savings account, and that just becomes part of that story for this month, okay? And then sometimes, you might be waiting on some paperwork, but I think that's a little bit more of a reversal. We don't see a lot of delays here. The Sun is a fast-moving card. The Wheel is a fast-moving card. The Ace of Swords is a fast-moving card. All of these top cards are moving pretty quickly, so I don't think it's a delay thing, right? Now, when it comes to your self-esteem, you might be looking at yourself from a new lens, okay? I do want to say that it feels as though you are gaining some new insight into yourself, if that makes sense. Sometimes we don't clearly see ourselves, but I feel like with this Ace of Swords here, you have a strong understanding this month of who you are. Sometimes we are trapped in this illusion, whether that be, we have an overflated sense of self or we have an underflated sense of self. But this month you see yourself pretty clearly, okay? You are having a breakthrough. You are recognizing how you are viewed by others, as well as you are understanding how you have been viewing yourself, okay? It's like realizing who you are without any sort of defense mechanisms or filters or excuses, right? It's a new mindset when it comes to how you are approaching the world, or even a sort of framework about your confidence. Because sometimes we base our confidence on, how many people are paying attention to us, or how many nice things do I have, or, how well am I doing in work or school? And none of those things really matter. The Ace of Swords is going to come through and say, I'm going to allow you to see the truth and what you should be basing your confidence on. And overall, I think the Ace of Swords is pretty good, because it's not like a lack of confidence. It's not a lack of self-respect or anything at all. It's just a sense of understanding and clarity. And where you want to move from there, that's going to be different. But this month is about reaching that point of understanding, what have I been basing my self-worth on? How are people have been viewing me? How have I been viewing myself? How have I been talking to myself? And do I need to set new boundaries? Do I need a different framework? You're thinking about things this month. And then overall, when it comes to family, sometimes the Ace of Swords is like, okay, I'm talking to my family a little bit more. They are messaging me, they're calling me, or I'm calling them, then I'm messaging them. And in a toxic case, which I don't think this is toxic, I really don't. But if that does happen, then this would be like cutting them off. The Ace of Swords definitely wants to trim the fat. So we have the Wheel of Fortune when it comes to career. When I see the Wheel of Fortune as career, it's almost like this turning point where there's no going back. At least that's kind of how I've seen it. It's this point in your job, your work, your career, where generally it's like it's either now or never. So let's say that you have been in a toxic job, you decide this month to say something about it, and that causes this shift and this change. Now, whether that be for the better or for the worse, whatever the case may be, but it's going to change the dynamics of things from now on, right? I feel as though when I see the Wheel of Fortune, it's generally good, okay? I'll say that. And I don't mean to say that things can't get tough following the change, but what I mean is it's going to cause you to address things so that they can move forward. And if there are no changes and implementations being taken place within your job that can properly support you or bring about more peace within your environment, then that's overall going to lead you to get away from that environment and move on to something different. But, if there are changes that actually take place and, things improve, then that's great. You can stay there, you can grow, and it can be one big happy work family, right? So that is what I've noticed with this card here. Now, for those of you who may be unemployed, funemployed, whatever the case may be, this can just be like, hey, I've been applying for jobs for a while, and now I receive some sort of lucky break. I get an interview that falls in my lap, or maybe somebody finally, reaches back out for a job offer, something along the lines of that. This can be a restructuring of different roles within your work environment. Maybe your boss goes on leave. Maybe your boss comes back. Maybe they hire some new people and the role needs to be restructured. And so now you find that your supervisor has, more free time to spend on your work, or less free time to spend on your work, whatever the case may be. If you're an entrepreneur, this is a turn of luck on things probably going for the better. Like I said, I really do think the Wheel of Fortune is mainly for the better when I see it. You get some more traction, you get some more followers, you get some more purchasers, clients, products being premiered and launched, and they're doing pretty well, good reviews. Like, this is the shifts that are happening generally when I see it. And then also, maybe this is an expansion of your role, a change in your responsibilities. You're able to implement more of your ideas, and, it's like this right place, right time type of energy with Jupiter going on there. It's like, I'm going to expand some opportunities for you within your job. And so there can be some more job opportunities in that area. And if things have been stagnant for a while, whatever your situation is at work, it's going to pick up speed and momentum this month. Okay, this shows a growth in the career path or a change at work or within the work environment. And then also, if we're talking about reputation, this could mean that people are viewing you as a game changer, someone who is a catalyst for change, someone who is lucky, someone who can be very dynamic and changeable. And they feel like you're somebody who's just generally seen as a flexible person who has a lot of different qualities to them. Generally, I see it as somebody being very professional, well-rounded. That's kind of like the reputation for this month. But yeah, expect the change, expect the shift. Like I said, it may get worse before it gets better, or maybe it just stays better and gets better and better and better. You know, that just happens with these types of placements, but there will be a change. We have the Lovers card for love. You know, speaking of that, just last night we were doing the polls and I was asking you guys, hey, and this was during the live, I was asking you guys, which card do you love to see in a love reading? And I had the Lovers there, I had the 10 of Pentacles there, I had the 10 of Cups, and I had the 2 of Cups. And you guys chose the 2 of Cups over the Lovers for love. I can't believe it. But essentially, when we have the Lovers for love, what happens here is there's a deep bond being formed. There's a strong connection. You have support of your friends. You have support of your family. You have this feeling, or maybe even some choices that you may need to make within your environment. I think what happened is, and I know one of you had mentioned, the reason why that most people probably chose the 2 of Cups rather than the Lovers is because the Lovers comes with a feeling of intensity, and that is correct, right? The Lovers is connected to Gemini, the 3rd house. You know, on the cards, it's representative like Adam and Eve and the angel Gabriel, I believe, in the Garden of Eden. And so, yeah, that is a pretty intense structure that we're in. But honestly, it is knowing the people that you love in and out, and them knowing you. As the saying goes, to be loved is to be known. And so this month it feels as if you're like, oh wow, my friends and family really know me well, or I really know them. And there's also a sense of a little bit of unpredictability. I think I've mentioned this in several readings before. I know I mentioned it during the yearly 2025 reading, where I talked about the Lovers having this theme of unpredictability. As I said, it connects to Gemini in the 3rd house, so it's 8 from the 8th. And so this can bring about some intense circumstances, and it's kind of exactly what one of you pointed out, where the Lovers can have a bit of intensity to it. And so either that is an intense focus in your hobbies, maybe there is could be a little drama within relationships. I mean, you know, it is next to that 4 of Wands reverse, and 4 of Wands reverse can be a little drama focused. It's like a Wedding Crashers type of vibe. It's like, you know, you have a kids free wedding, and then somebody brings their kid and you're like, hey, you're not following the rules, and things along the lines of that. It's like, you know, I'm going to wear white to somebody's wedding. Like it's a little drama there. So maybe for some areas, for some of you in some areas, it could be like that, where some people seem to be not as, you know, on your side. They're a little bit more competitive or petty. You know, that can be for some people in terms of friends or family or loved ones. That can happen. I do want to say that it is interesting to see this combination of cards. I will say this can represent making some choices when it comes to your love life. And what I mean by that is you might be deciding that you want to date again. You might be choosing to stay in a relationship, stay out of a relationship, deepening the bond, opening up about certain things, trying new things together, maybe even traveling with friends or having friends come to travel to see you, boyfriends, girlfriends, wives, husbands, whatever the case may be. Maybe you're having different conversations when it comes about to your relationships, because these cards all flow together. So the Wheel of Fortune following the Lovers, it can represent there's some changes within your relationships and your dynamics. I really feel as though that it's changes for the better. Maybe it's like that release, like I said, of opening up about certain things that could potentially surprise you or destabilize the relationship for a little bit. And then you're like, okay, let me collect myself. Like, I just feel I didn't know this about you, but you know, I don't think this is a make or break our relationship type of thing. This can point to meeting someone you really connect with. If you are single, feeling as if you are within alignment with this person, it feels like you caught a vibe, you know. And then honestly, like, let's say you're not dating anyone. This could just be this feeling of like, I'm in love with love right now. Like, you're a lover girl, you're a lover guy right now. You want some love in your life and you're thinking about it a little bit more. And then sometimes, like I said, this is moving into a deeper commitment, whether that is moving in, blending families, marriage, something along the lines of that. As like kids and stuff like that, pretty similar. It's just like I'm supporting my kids. Even I'm putting in effort towards my kids in a way, you know, I just want to say that it's strong bonds in the household. Maybe even teaching your kids some responsibility, just because the Lovers can connect to that Gemini, that house of efforts. And so sometimes it's like, hey, I'm going to teach you, you need to pick up your toys. and you're teaching your kids some lessons this month if you have children. And, you know, also nieces, nephews, whatever the case may be, some play dates, some fun times. You could even be spending more time with children, because this is like where your effort and your energy goes into this month. And then the last thing is things that you love to do. I feel that when I see this card here, you're really in your element this month. Okay, I just want to say that you really are enjoying your hobbies. You're making time for it. You're probably enjoying yourself with other people, because the Lovers is not a solo dolo card. So you're spending time with other people doing things that you like to do, okay? Whether that is, oh, let's go to a cooking class together. Let's travel together. Let's go to some social event. Let's go to a singles meetup. Let's go to some sort of board game. Let's try this interactive event. Let's go volunteering or do some sort of spiritual, whatever case may be, together. This is all of the things that you're doing is generally going to be with company. Not all of it, but there's going to be a lot more company this month when it comes to having fun and enjoying your life. So I just want to say that as well. But you may even need to plan ahead a little bit more this month with the Lovers because of that unpredictable energy. All right, that is what I want to say there. And there may be some need to compromise, because we all know that the Lovers is like my beliefs, your beliefs, what I like to do, what you like to do. And so you have to compromise in that area. So when it comes to the Four of Wands reverse, I already touched on it a little bit for the vibe for the month. Things are pretty good. It's not like the Four of Wands is horrendous, right? There's so many other cards we could have gotten if this was just a tough month, right? We could have gotten like the Ten of Swords or something along the lines of that. Or like, you know, the Five of Swords, or a lot of different swords seem to be tough. But, but you know what I mean? The Four of Wands reversed is just like the feeling of rain on your wedding day. It's like, oh man, I planned this beautiful wedding, then it rains. But at the end of the day, it's not about the rain. It's about getting married to someone you love and connect with. So this is a little bit of like, oh, some of my plans are going awry, or maybe there even is a little bit of delay in meeting milestones. That is quite possible. I really feel like the Four of Wands reversed is this feeling that you got a lot of the things that you want, but maybe not in the way that you wanted it, or there's maybe like one or two things that are off, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like if I ordered some pancakes with whipped cream and vanilla chocolate chips and butter pecan syrup. And then they put regular chocolate chips on my order. And it's like, okay, this is cool, but it's not exactly what I wanted. So, and that's going to be like the feeling of this month a little bit is what I see for this. Or, you know what I mean? You launch a project and you may do like a lot of the work, but it's like the whole team is being celebrated. It's not like you're not celebrated, but it's like, hey, I'd rather receive that celebration myself, because when the Four of Wands is upright, you're generally celebrating, you know, maybe one or two people, right? You know, the celebration is not everybody's celebration. It's you've come together to give your applause to someone else or them giving their applause to you. But the Four of Wands reversed is like, hey, everyone gets a trophy. And that's like, oh man, I feel like they're diminishing my contribution. It doesn't feel like I am solely getting recognized, okay? And then maybe you might even find, like for some of you, if you don't have that full support system, people might be giving you some half-hearted support, right? Like they're like, oh, good for you, you know, that's great. Like they don't seem too interested in your accomplishments or the things that you have done. I feel like sometimes when it comes to the Four of Wands reverse, it's like you're thinking about moving and changing your home as well. It doesn't feel like this is a comfortable space for you this month. You have a lot of good things going for you, but you're just like, I don't think this environment suits me anymore. And that's something that I would like to change. It's a feeling of restlessness or a little bit being out of place. That can definitely happen. Within your life, you just feel the need to make some changes, okay? Maybe you even feel like it's going to take a little bit longer than you expected to get a new place, or it feels like maybe if you're breaking your lease, you would like that to happen a little bit more sooner than later. But either way, the Four of Wands reverse is just like a delayed milestone, a delayed celebration. You could even literally just be celebrating something a little bit later than, you know, intended. Maybe you had a friend's birthday in September, but you're celebrating it in October. So it's just a little delayed celebration going on here, okay, is what I want to say for the feeling of this month. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to touch on when it comes to this area. I think that overall the vibe is like something is missing from the picture. Like you have so much great things in your life, but it's not quite exactly the picturesque picture that you were thinking about. All right. I do want to say that. And sometimes this can represent, like, on the surface, my life looks amazing to other people, but inside, I don't think I feel the same way. Now, when we talk about the first house here, the first house as themes for your life. So first of all, we know the first house rules like just you in general. And so there's a lot of reflection when it comes to yourself and how you present yourself, your appearance, this month. So there can be making some changes to your body, or you're buying new clothes, or you're changing your hair, you're doing your nails differently. You're making some tweaks in that area this month. That is quite possible. But then also this can represent you're starting something new within your life. Something is changing and transforming for you, because the first house just rules your overall everything in your chart because it's you, it's your actions, it's your desires, it's who you are. It says it on the card, guys. It's like going to affect every part of your being. And so you may feel as though you're going through a lot of different changes when it comes to, as I said, how you view yourself, the direction that you would like to take when it comes to your career. You know, sometimes people are like, oh, I'm having an identity crisis, or maybe you're having an identity revelation, you know, something along the lines of that. It's about going through some changes in your path. And we already know the Lovers here is letting me know that you're making some strong, important choices this month, especially when it comes to how you spend your free time and where you pour your energy into when it comes to doing the things that you love and enjoy. There's a strong focus when it comes to that. And we have 3 major arcana going on here. And so that to me is like, wow, you have a lot of important things happening for you this month. And so this month can feel a little bit like a total new chapter, like an energy shift. And to me, it doesn't seem completely sudden. More than likely, you have been thinking about things for a while, but I feel like this month you're deciding to make some new changes. And I really love to see the first house, because to me, it shows that you may be in line with all of these karmic and fated events happening. Sometimes it can feel like there's a lot of resistance going on within the cards, but for the most part, it seems to me that you're going with the flow of things. Even if you're not sure where it's going to end up, it seems like everything's a little bit more aligned. And maybe you're manifesting stronger this month. Maybe you find that things come a little bit more easy towards you. But to me, it feels as if you are taking the initiative to make moves this month, instead of letting things just happen to you. But that is what I have for you, pal. Number 5, please let me know if this resonates. And don't forget to get a private reading. The link is in the description bar below. If you want to join the lives, go ahead and look at the community tab. I go live Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can ask me a question there as well. We do astrology talks, and we do the collective weekly look ahead. Also, you can check out my TikToks for just the clipped up version. Maybe you don't want to watch the whole live, but I do the clip ups of all the, the astrology and tarot weekly collectives. It's on Instagram as well. And I also have a vlog you can check out. But that is all I have for me, and I wish you the best. Au revoir.